you showing up and being your authentic self and not really caring about what anybody thinks of you
Yes.
because you're coming from a place of service. And so this is huge, especially like in our industry or
Mm-hmm.
any industry at all, where you have to show up and be yourself and be loud and proud about what you're doing. Not so much because I want the attention on me, not at all. It's
Mm-mm.
like, how many people can hear what I have to say and change their lives?
Mm.
And so when you have realtors who don't want to get on video, it's like, don't worry about it. They're not looking at you because of your hair. I mean, maybe some are, but um, they're looking at you for the message that you're giving.
Yes.
Come from a place of value, place of service, helping people, changing lives. And that's going to give you more confidence to be on that camera, to be your authentic self, to be as loud as you want to be.
So we're trying things different, fam. So we have this new angle. What's up over there? They're seeing us from over there, and there's our beautiful guests. We have Steve and Rose. They were both here before, but not actually here. They were on Real Estate First Technology,
Yeah.
and I think it's been like 3 years since we talked about getting you both on and doing this again. And last year we launched the Liftoff Experience, and I was like, yes, you're in real estate, but your story is amazing. Like how long you've been together for, like power couple, you being in a whole different industry, welder, being in the union to, your wife being in real estate. And then she's like, hey, honey, come on, you want to help with editing and this and all the things. And you're like, sure, honey, let's do this. And welcome, dude. This is exciting. I appreciate you guys both coming in and flying all the way from Sacramento, California.
We just had to book the trip, and we did, and we're so glad we did because you have been amazing.
Aw.
Showing us around all day today. It's been really good. And I was saying earlier, I feel like it's going to my grandparents' house where all they want to do is feed you. Like, we're going to go eat lunch, but we just ate breakfast. So
That
thank
was
you.
a warm up, bro.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to eat after this too. But
We will.
thank you so much for the hospitality. It's been great.
And so he slips in. I thought he was going to the bathroom. Then I thought he had a call.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, she's like, "Here you go," and she's signing the thing. And he's signing the thing. I was like, "What, bro?
Uh,
I
I mean,
appreciate you. Thank you."
Yeah, yeah. You guys have been taking care of us so good. Why not pay for lunch?
Of course,
Yeah,
man.
I
It's
got you.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. The wife had some sourdough made for us, and
oh,
now we're doing some matcha. So we
It's a
were.
vibe.
Picking up.
Was that song? It's just a vibe.
It's a
It's just a
vibe.
vibe.
How's it go, Rose?
It's a vibe.
Oh my god.
We're so excited to be here, man.
Dude, of course, man, of course. And at the end of the day, I think anyone who's viewing and listening, at the end of the day, like if you're gonna do something and you keep procrastinating and not doing it, just go do it. You never know what can happen from an experience that like you were just like, we're just so busy.
What'd you say when we were in the gym? Where every day of our lives led us to this point right here.
Oh my god, I did say that.
And any change in any day of our whole lives, we might not even be here.
Yeah.
But everything we have done to get to this moment, in a sense, happened for a reason,
Amen.
right? And
Yes.
that's our whole lives. If one day could have changed everything.
One day we wouldn't be sitting here, you wouldn't be listening to this, and even with our viewers, you wouldn't be watching or listening right now if maybe you did something different in your life.
Like, who was it? Steve Jobs. It's like you can't really connect the dots looking forward.
Yeah.
You can only connect it looking backwards.
Ooh.
And it's so funny because like one of our stories was like I had to transfer to a different school because something bad happened.
Yeah.
I would have never met him.
Mm.
Right? And so just little things like that is just your things happen to you for a reason.
Yeah.
And you don't
I love
realize
that.
what it is until you look back.
Amen, 100%. And I believe that it's easier to look at life happens for you for a reason than looking at it like, oh my God, this happened to me. That happened to me. I got pulled over. Why me? Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is.
Well, I like to say, like, I have a story, but we all have a story.
Ooh.
What's yours? Like, some of my best ice breaking conversations is starting off with my story. And everybody's like, wow, that's cool. But I could get the same from anybody else because every single individual person has a unique story. And we could all relate
Yeah.
in some kind of sense with everybody's unique story
I love
because
that.
we're all connected in some kind of way,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And the stories are what bring us together over eating. We did a lot of that today. And be able to talk about, like, your kids, Jordan, coming back again, the things that we could do. This was kind of like the icebreaker, the catalyst to, like, hey, could this be maybe a place for you guys to come back and we can make it an annual thing or something?
And we kind of save money because we were going to buy a vacation home, but why? When you already have a home that we could vacation at.
We're good. By the time you guys come back, depending on how it all works out, we're going to be doing the addition upstairs. And so that's going to be like its
the one
own
outside.
and the one outside. So we'll have that. And that's what we want to do. We want to turn this into like a really cool opportunity just to vibe out, have multiple spaces for individuals to come and just enjoy and just, hey, just check out Arizona.
Yeah.
Take a break.
So for you guys out there that are looking at this podcast room, like, oh, that's insane. That's cool. His whole house is a vibe.
Yeah.
This podcast room to the weight room right next door to the front room to the upstairs to the backyard, everything has been thought out.
I appreciate
And
that.
You're so colorful, dude, in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Dude, thank
Really
you.
are. Yeah. It's
Thank
so
you.
cool. You've given me so much ideas. I'm like, I'm so plain compared to this beautiful, colorful house.
That's the goal, though,
yeah.
right? At the end of the day, I think anyone who's viewing and listening, it's not so much about the competition, right? How many of us do that? Oh, well, why him or why her? Why not me? It's like, well, if that's how you feel, then fine. But it's like, why not you? Like, why can't you have that too? Why can't you do this in your own house? Like, you guys already have a podcast room too.
Sure.
I mean, you have a badass gym too. You guys both do.
Absolutely.
In your garage, and links are down below. So you want to follow them, check them out.
Do, yeah.
They are in real estate. We're not going to go too deep into real estate because they've been on real estate versus technology. And I want to get more into the personal development and relationship building and power couples and being parents, and navigating all that. Because I think that's so important to business, right? Because it's like if your at-home life isn't good, then it's going to affect your business life, right? When kids are sick or there's issues or problems or whatever. So I really want to get into that. But I appreciate you acknowledging for sure. And not everyone does that. And it's interesting because we have hosts and have people come here and some are into it and they're like, they see it and they say it. Now others don't. And if they don't, we just leave it alone. We don't really say anything. But then those that do, it lights us up because we're like, yes, we're doing something right. Like they noticed or they seen it or they like it. So I appreciate when I get acknowledgement. So thank you so much. I am also an affirmations guy.
Yeah. Got to speak wisely. To
Yes.
yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
I
You
like
have
this.
affirmations throughout your whole house.
You seen that? We do. And it's,
So
it's subliminal.
I grew up in the Bay Area, and my father wasn't around, and my mom was kind of in and out of my life, but so I didn't have too much guidance, and there was a lot of like Bay Area hip hop coming out when I was growing up.
Oh yeah.
And so I like to, now that I'm 44, looking back, like my affirmations were all off as a kid. Nothing against like Bay Area rap, but if you
Yeah.
listen to the stuff that, I was listening to, that's all I
Every
listened to.
day.
And it's just, that was my affirmation. I think of it as kind of a negative affirmation because not all music's the same, but the ones I was listening to, it just wasn't positive in any way.
Yeah.
So now looking back, I'm like, wow, I was speaking negatively to myself for so long. And even if I wasn't paying attention, something's getting downloaded in there, right?
Yes.
And then I started pulling away from that and listening to like maybe podcasts like this. And
Yes.
like, wow, that's interesting. And maybe more calm music, more diverse music, and just opening my mind and then listening to actual affirmations. I'm like, wow, I'm now listening to positive affirmations. I'm so glad.
Huge difference.
It took a while, but I'm had to rewire my brain in a sense when it comes to that.
Dude, I love that for you. And I love that for anyone who's actually viewing, listening, and thinking to themselves like, oh my God, I do listen to rap music.
Yeah.
My wife calls me out. I'll put it on and she's
I do
like,
too still. Yeah.
what are you listening to? I'm like, I like the beat.
Sure.
Are you listening to the lyrics? I'm like, no.
You're like, oops.
Yeah, and then Jordan Jordan, obviously, she's all day long calling things out. And she's
Calling
like,
you out.
Daddy, why do they say the F word? Daddy, why this? I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing with kids. They put you aligned.
They do.
They just say it all out, like what's up, and you have to like think about it like, oh,
what am I doing?
Yeah.
Am
Yeah.
I
for
being
sure.
a good example? And it's interesting. We had a podcast episode guest with an individual who is in line with more positive rap. And so he was on the show and it was interesting. And there's another guy that I listened to, and you're starting to see it change because I think for the longest time, the Power of B wanted to put those lyrics and put that type of things in there because what I've learned over the years is like there's like this frequency thing, and when you drink alcohol or smoke weed or do drugs, it messes your chemical imbalances in your body, and then you start to like feel different. Or maybe when you're off of it, you feel maybe a little lower. You don't feel as high as far as just naturally. Like when you go to the gym, like we crushed it this morning. Not gonna be able to walk tomorrow. I'm just saying.
That's your fault. I said I'll do whatever you want. I'm not going to do anything. I'll follow your lead. And yeah.
Hey, I'm blaming it on Fitbod. It's this app. It's called Fitbod. I'm not sponsored by it. I'm blaming it on that.
I ain't gonna lie. I work out. Rose works out religiously. We work out pretty hard too. I was thinking I was going to come today because most people I usually work out with and I let them run it. It's kind of a chill workout for
Yeah.
me because I work out pretty intense. I'm not going to lie. This was a very good leg workout, and I know I'm going to be very sore from it. So thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank you for
man.
not taking it easy on me.
Hey, let's go. And what it was good though, because there's good to have contrast. And so I did the workout. There's some challenges there for you, some challenges for me, and then he put me on the stair stepper, and I was like, oh my
I heard him. He was
God.
like, go on number 14. We got 2 minutes. Let's go to
We're gonna
16.
finish
And
hard.
I'm like, wow.
That's the mindset I have with working out is it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
So I always try to finish strong. Am I
Yeah.
always successful? No. There's some days I just can't push to that level.
Yeah.
But if I can, I am always going to finish a workout harder than when I start or even the middle of the workout.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think it really translate in a lot of things, right? Because you want to finish strong. It's not how you started anything; it's how you finish everything.
Amen, dude. 100%. I love that. And that's exactly what I did the last minute. He's like, all right, go up higher. You got this. And then I pushed through. And that's where accountability and partners are in because we were working out this morning and it was like yin and yang with Melissa. She should be here, I feel like,
I
too.
know.
You know what I'm
I know she's
saying?
part of the whole day.
I know.
Sit on your lap.
I know she could. Well, we are working on this section next, so we do have a fourth location for the podcast and another mic sitting
so
over there.
next visit.
And this
Guess we're coming
this
back
does
soon.
4. So yes. If y'all want to see the foursome, G-rated,
PG 13.
PG-13, G-rated here. We're gonna have 4, and they could be 2 power couples.
Yeah.
That'd be sick,
That would
dude.
be sick. Super cool.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
We could learn off of each other
Yes.
in so many ways.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. 100%.
We're going to do it.
We're
Now
gonna
we have
do
to
it.
come back.
We do. More
Yeah.
excuses to come back.
Definitely
and
working out first.
We are.
That's a must.
We're doing it.
All right, cool.
And we're doing the cold plunge.
I know.
Last
I
week
was
we
going
didn't do
to
it.
say, we have to bring the bathing suits because we missed the cold plunge. I was looking forward
We were
to
just so excited. So much going on. We're so excited. And it's just like everything from Arizona, first time being here, going to the gym together. It's just like kid on Christmas morning for me,
So we're from California, grew up in the Bay Area, now live in the Sacramento region. Absolutely love California. California is one of the most beautiful states on this planet, right? But Arizona is just so unique. It's so different. It's nothing like California, at least from what I've seen. And after a while, you're like, wow, what a beautiful, cool, unique state this is. And there's something about it out here. Whenever we come, it's so different.
Yeah.
Cactus everywhere. It's a desert. It's hot. But the hospitality with not only you guys, but even going out to restaurants and meeting people, it's just a good vibe out here. It really is.
It really is. People out here, we first moved in, they were bringing us like treats and waving at us every time we drive by. And the neighbors are so open to just saying hi to you and just whatever. And it's been amazing. So, and I knew for me, coming from California for 33 years, I was like, I just want to experience something else. I don't want to be in one place forever. And we did that, and it was one of the best decisions ever. And now it's cool because it gave us the opportunity to have liftoff, if you will, because things were cheaper. So we ended up getting this place quicker than we would in California. And then it gave Jordan her own bedroom. It gave Melissa the opportunity to quit her job quicker, to do her tea full time. And now it's like, holy cow, we're having so much success from what we're doing. It's like, we can go buy a house in San Diego, or go to California whenever we want. And our family's still in the Bay.
Yeah.
And
So
sometimes you
nice.
have to take that chance in life on yourself, on faith,
Yeah.
to create the life you've created. We help a lot of families moved to the Sacramento region from all around the country, even the furthest Guam, I think.
Wow.
And just a lot of people were relocating, but there's a sense of uncertainty, and a lot of people are afraid to make that move. But I think where we connect with a lot of people is we made that move. We've made a couple big moves in our lifetime, so we're able to kind of tell our story.
I
And
love
I
that.
tell people, because we're, if you look at it, 4 years moving from the Bay Area to Sacramento, but leaving everything, we left our careers and everything to start something new. We had to do that on faith,
Yeah.
and faith that we are going to figure it out. We had a game plan. Don't get me wrong. We didn't just, what are we going to do? We kind of had a game plan. The stars aligned in this situation for
Wow.
us to where we were able to capitalize on some stocks that helped us out to be able to put a down payment on our house. And now we're just going to leave what we knew, start something else new. And it was not easy.
Yeah.
Even though in 4 years, actually, we feel so much more confident. But for the first couple of years, we're like, oh no, this isn't working out. But we still had faith. We still grind every single day, stuck to the process, tuned out the negative news and noise, because that will get you off the, what you're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Yeah.
And then we looked up one day and realized, like, oh shoot, it's still negative out there. People are still worried, but we're actually thriving right now.
Yeah.
So you go 4 years in, and now I tell people, like, we live this. We understand that the uncertainty of you guys moving out here, our experience and a lot of people's experience that we've helped, they had to take that chance to create this life and in a sense, create your own life.
Yes.
Create your own life. Don't just be stuck in one place your whole life. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't want to be stuck where you were forever.
Yeah.
And we actually in our 20s decided to move from the Bay Area to San Diego.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why is because I didn't want to stay stuck in the same city my whole life.
Yes.
A lot of my friends.
Yes.
But the timing wasn't right. We went out there. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't feel like home. I was homesick. I wanted to go back.
Interesting.
Even though San Diego is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful over there.
Dude, yeah.
I just wasn't ready. I was listening to gangster rap all the time, right? My mind wasn't right? I missed home. I wanted to be
programmed.
back. I was, you know what I mean? So going back to the Bay Area and restarting our life, I was in construction for a while, and just maturing and really appreciating what I have, and us really growing as a family and having more kids, and just growing and finding ourselves more and more and more.
Wow.
And then we took the leap again to move to Rockland, and it just aligned this time.
Wow.
So we had to believe in ourselves multiple times in our life, because you're not guaranteed just because you're going to go on faith and you grind, it's going to work. But if you really, really, really force things to happen, things will happen.
Amen.
It just didn't happen the first time. And man, I'm so glad we took that leap the second time.
Let's go. Congratulations. I love that for both of
it's
you
so
guys.
cool.
I mean, it's very similar to Melissa and I because, it was 5 years for us here, 4 years there for SAC. So, it doesn't matter if it's like state or, city, we still took that leap of faith on both ends. And it's really cool that like we have similar stories. Really excited for podcast number 2 because we did the same thing. We took the leap of faith. We made it happen. And now we're sitting here and enjoying the fruits of our labor and now sharing it with each other, sharing it with our family, sharing it with like our teams that we're building and what we're doing. It's just so cool, dude. I love it.
And we're still young.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? We have so much life ahead of us.
Amen.
Like life is precious and unique and crazy and hard, but man, it's what an experience every day is, really is.
Yeah.
And when you find like have a family with a wife and kids, it's like you're not just managing yourself. You got lives on the line, and we got to learn how to work together and be successful. And it's really cool to see. We had our first kid at 15. We could talk about that later if we want.
Yeah.
She had a different experience than our second child, then our third child, then our fourth child. Because every child, there was like a 6-7 year gap.
Yeah.
So imagine
Like the last one was 9.
Wow.
So imagine with my first daughter's experience being raised by me and Rose at 15, 16.
Yeah.
Way different than our 6-year-old being raised in her 40s or late 30s, because we found ourselves. We're so much more established.
Yeah, yeah.
More
So,
patient,
oh my gosh, just
putting
the
him into
transition.
the right schools, cared more about, his education versus with our first one, it was like we were moving all the time.
It's like, kid, you better be ready for the ride.
We're kids. Our first apartment, we were talking about earlier, we had an apartment in Hayward off
Okay.
of Mission and Jackson.
We were in Hayward before it came out here.
Exactly.
We talked about that earlier.
Our daughter, we had a 1-bedroom apartment. Our daughter's bedroom was like a pantry.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean?
Please.
It was,
She
like,
didn't
on the
experience the
other
life.
side. It
that
was
the
on the.
kids
It was
do.
like an apartment, and
Yeah.
then you had a kitchen,
Okay.
and then back there was like a little room with no window, but it fit a twin size bed and a dresser, and so that
Okay.
was her first room.
There you
We
go.
made it work. We
You
made
make it work, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We had to do in Hayward as well. Like I had an office. It was 8 months before COVID hit, and so we basically had the office. I had a place in Walnut Creek. Melissa and I met each other on Instagram, and so I was like, okay, well, I was like single bachelor living in Walnut Creek. I'm like, this is great. But then I met Melissa. Like, this is even better. So then we left that place. 1 year lease was up. Went to her house. And I was like, okay, well, closing this office, we got to make it work. So it was a 2-car garage, and there's a washer and dryer, and there's enough space, like all these big shelves. I took them all out. And I'm like, okay, we'll put the little office here in the corner, and we'll put the little gym here in the corner. And right before COVID, and then COVID hit, and we're like, okay, this is what we're doing. And then we rented out the room upstairs that was her sibling living with us because we wanted a house hack and take that money and apply it back to the house. And you just do what you got to do, dude. And some of
make it
those
work.
some of those times are actually fun. When you're young like
for
that
sure.
and you're enjoying yourself, you know what I'm saying? And you're going through that and like it's so much fun.
I was a kid with a kid. It was crazy. Like I said, I'm in the Bay Area. Rap was so big back then, right? So I
Yeah.
remember my first car at 16. I had a kid.
Oh my
She'd be in the
gosh.
back, and I would just be bumping all the time.
He had like the speakers,
The subs and all that in the back.
1-year-old in the back going like this, his gangster.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my
shoot, I
God,
made it
let's
work. I
go.
did what I had to do. I was actually a pretty good dad for, not having a dad in a sense. and having
Yeah.
a kid so young. I always remembered that you don't have a dad, be a good dad. You don't have a dad, be a
Yeah.
good dad. There's no way I could be a really good dad at 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
But looking back, I did pretty good. I had a good conscience. I really wanted the best for her,
Yeah.
you know.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that for you guys. And at the end of the day, it's like you don't always have to have the roadmap. You always don't have to have. There's no manual with kids, but you just know that, like, hey, I knew for me, I wanted to be better than the example that I had.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm still not perfect, but
Yeah.
do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you know what I realized? Sorry, Rose, go ahead.
No, I mean, I feel like for us too, one of the biggest things was like, the standard that people had with teenage parents. I mean, when people found out that we were pregnant we actually got pregnant at 14.
Wow.
And then I had her the day after my 15th birthday. It was my birthday, and we were standing in front of the house waiting for my sister to get off work because we didn't drive then.
Oh my God.
But like, I had people telling me, it's like, what'd you do to your life is over. Like, you're not going to make anything out of yourself.
So when
And
you're
so
pregnant,
that was
your
like,
family was telling you that.
yeah. And so that was like a really big driver for me. It was like, I'm going to show you that that's not true. Like, I am who I am with my kids.
Yeah.
And so it was like really important for me to be a good mom and then provide for my family. And it was like,
Love that.
it was just one of those things where, if you put your mind to it, it's, I see my 15-year-old son. I'm like, no way, you cannot be a parent at
Right.
this age. But like when we were going through it, I felt so much older,
Right.
more
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
It's very
And you have no
different.
choice. Your back's against the
have no
wall.
choice,
You
yeah.
got to do what you got to do. Not to mention, like, isn't it interesting how you can turn that negative into a positive?
Yeah.
Your parents are telling you, like, you're going to be nothing and this and that and everything else. And you're like, let me show you what's up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
know?
saved my life.
Really?
Whenever we tell the story, it's a great icebreaker. Like I said, like, wow, you guys have such a good story.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really, really, really believe that if I didn't have a kid at 15, and then I always say, don't go have a kid at 15. I don't recommend it, but
I did it, so-
shaped me in a better way because it gave me, like I said, I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a role model. My mom was young. She was in and out.
Mm,
I felt like I was a lost kid in a sense.
mm.
So when I met Rose at an early age, I didn't know how to handle that, but I knew all I wanted was this because this is the best thing in my life. So we
Wow.
spent so much time together, too much time. No one told us any different. And then I had a kid, and trust me, I fumbled so much, but it always came back to you have a kid, pay attention. And then I would mess up so bad. You have a kid, pay attention. You have a kid,
Wow.
pay attention. Until eventually, thank God, I made it past my teens into my 20s,
Yeah.
and then really you just start to mature naturally and kind of move away and get away from things. And but it wasn't like, oh, I figured it out, not until I
Mm-hmm.
got into like my 30s when I
Mm.
really started to look back like, I'm so glad my story went that way at 15,
Mm-hmm.
because you could only imagine being a 21-year-old and not having multiple girlfriends and having a kid since you're 15, and not
Yeah.
doing well in school and not going to school. I just missed out on a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense I was like, oh, I missed out on everything. And then you get to your 30s, you're like, thank God I had a kid, because who knows what my life would have been like. And just leading up to that point in my early teens, it wasn't looking pretty. The crowd I
Wow.
was hanging out with, and then my dad, maybe following my dad's footsteps, I'm like, that was such a blessing
Wow.
to do that.
Wow.
Man, it just paved our lives. And now it's like, look, we all work as a team. Our family works
Mm.
as a team. It's pretty cool to see. And it's really
Love
cool to
that.
see like our 15-year-old boy now almost treat like our 6-year-old boy like his own son in a sense. He's bringing it
Wow.
up. So it just shows that our kids are turning out good. We must have did something right,
Dude,
you know,
amen, bro.
in a
And
hectic world, because we're not perfect at all.
who knows, maybe, the Lord said, hey, this is what you need, what you both need. And then it kept you straight and narrow. Because
Yeah.
some individuals out there aren't straight and narrow and they get into things and maybe they go down a path that they go so deep they can't come back.
Yeah.
And I know people that, God bless and rest their soul that, either aren't with us anymore or who knows what, and then the kids go into foster care and who knows. But the fact that, I mean, when did you first meet each other?
When we were 12, 13, middle
So
school.
Wow.
He was the new boy at school.
I was always the new kid.
Ooh, the
My
new boy at school.
my mom my mom moved a lot, because she was young. When she was struggling, she'd go to the grandparents,
Okay.
and then I'd be in Newark, and then be like, oh, I'm doing better, or she might get a boyfriend, so we'll move out. And so I was
Mm,
always the new kid. I always was the new kid.
got it.
And then moving to Newark again, and then going to junior high there, that's where we met. And because I was the new kid, um,
A lot of the girls were talking about him.
the girls
Yeah,
were talking
did you
about me,
see
I
that
guess.
new boy?
Yeah, which was nice because I never experienced that before, and then it was almost like a relief. I felt accepted in a sense that
Yeah.
I never did
Little
before.
celebrity over here.
It was kind of like that for like a week, right? And then this girl approaches me, which was pretty cool. I didn't have to go to her. She comes to me and says,
Hold up.
"You can tell the
Hold
story."
up.
No, she did. I didn't approach her. What
Well,
was the story?
so he was the new kid at school, and everybody was like, "Oh, did you see that new kid?" And I'm like, "What new kid?"
Yeah.
Anyways, my really good friend was like, "Can you get his number for me?" So I was like, "Okay." So I walk up to him and I'm like, "Hey, my friend wants your number." And then from
You didn't
there,
know who I was?
I hadn't seen you yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, my friend wants your number." And so like I don't know what happened, but we just ended up becoming friends
Yeah, yeah.
after that. And then we just hung out all the time. But just it's funny, like the story that I was telling earlier about me moving to that new school. So I was in 5th grade and I got jumped by
Ah.
like, I don't know, like 12 kids. And it was like after school, they took me
Mm.
to a park. It was just like, it was a lot. But my mom had moved me to Newark,
Mhm.
California. And that's where we were at. I went to elementary school there and then moved to middle school.
Yeah.
We went to Newark Junior High. And so that's where I met him. So that's what I was
Mm.
saying was like something really bad happened. I didn't know why it was happening. My mom moved me to Newark, and
Mhm.
then I met him just a couple years later. So it was 5th grade, and I met him in 8th grade.
Wow, that is amazing story. Congratulations to both of you. And then your mom's probably like, another mistake. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Especially, I
Whole
can
time,
imagine
yeah.
after,
Well, she sent
conceiving.
me to the Philippines
Oh, she
with a
did?
one-way ticket when I was 14 years old. And that's where I found out I was pregnant.
And that was your ticket back.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. We
What?
were getting in trouble, obviously, like bless my mom's heart. So we were getting in trouble. I was leaving school, going to see him, and so she just was like, "You're going to the Philippines. You're not coming back." And so I remember just like, being this, country where everybody was just, looking at me differently just because I wore tank top and I had makeup on. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I was like really scared because
Oh my
it was like a
God.
lot of like Catholic and just,
Yeah.
And so when I found out I was pregnant, I called him 1-800 collect. Do you remember that?
Oh,
We
I
yeah.
have
was
a
like,
collect call from, and
I'm
then you say your
pregnant,
name, and
click.
all she said is, "I'm pregnant." It was the first time I heard her voice in months. I thought we were done forever, and it was because her mom separated us in a sense, and I was heartbroken. You gotta understand, I was heartbroken because the one time I feel like, oh, I finally have something, and then that's gone. And then I didn't hear from her for months. Then I get a call one day, and I'm staying by my phone, just waiting for someone to call me to give me something to do, right? And then I hear ring, ring, ring. You have a collect call from I'm pregnant. Click, and I was like, I'm gonna have a kid. That's crazy. It actually made me feel very, very happy inside in a weird way
Wow,
at 15.
dude, that is crazy, dude. So we haven't got deep in the conversation before.
Dude,
So
there's so
you're hearing
it's
this
too. It
first.
goes deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'm out there for 4 months and I come back with like this little pooch.
Oh my
And
God.
then so it was like really weird to see him because we're like one immature young
Yeah.
babies, and I come back with like this little pooch, and it
You're
was just
pregnant. You're a
yeah,
kid being pregnant.
yeah.
And
And
we
we would
thought we
take
were old
like
enough.
his grandma would have to take us to the doctor's appointments, or we'll take the AC transit buses to my
Wow.
doctor's appointment, and
How
then
was
my
how was that conversation with your mom? The very
well,
first.
I think it was a little bit easier because I was out of the country.
Okay.
I called her and I was crying. And so I just remember crying, telling her I don't feel good. And then she probably already knew why.
Hmm.
And so,
Mom intuition.
yeah, so I think she already knew. So what happened was I was staying at my cousin's
Okay.
in the Philippines, and we were partying it up because there's no age limit in the Philippines.
Yeah,
So
for anything.
like at the karaoke bar drinking beer at 14,
Oh my
like
God.
chilling. And so she moved me from my cousin's house to my uncle's house, and they were taking me to the doctors and taking care of me. But yeah, it was a very crazy experience to be out of the country, pregnant at 14, and then having to fly
Wow.
back home. We racked up a phone bill from just trying to talk to each other.
Oh my God.
We were so inseparable, like in kind of a toxic way because we didn't know any
Really?
better.
Ah.
She was a straight A student. I was the lost soul, and she started skipping school, running away. Obviously, lost her virginity at a very early age. We were
Yeah.
just threw caution out the window.
Like, nah, not
We
doing
just
that.
didn't know
Everything I
anything
learned from
better,
him.
but we just felt so good with each other. But we just, it didn't start off easy at all. And it's
No.
still not easy, right? So that's why I
Jeez
say when we
Louise.
had our first kid, Jasmine, when we were 15, now she's 28 with 2 grandkids, it wasn't easy for her. She didn't get the best version of us, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just didn't. But looking back, I still felt like I did pretty good for what it was.
Yeah.
But then 6 years later, our second daughter didn't get the best version of us, but she got a better version of us, still trying to figure it out. But we weren't 15. We weren't 16, 17, 18. And then our third boy gets almost the best version of us in a sense because I started my trade, I started a career.
Yeah.
She started her career.
Yeah.
We started getting in personal development deeper and deeper. And so through that, he came into that and we were just elevating as a couple now. We're working together.
Wow.
And we're forming our relationship stronger and stronger. We had purpose. And so our 15-year-old now, he had a good version of us. And now he still has the best version of us. And now we have a 6-year-old son. All he knows is good life,
Yeah.
no struggle, good
Let's
house, great
go.
school. So that's even tricky, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
we're all blessed, we're all entitled, we're all spoiled,
Yeah.
all of us, because we just have a great life, but we don't realize how great we have it because this is all we know. This is all we see. So it's hard to compare it to other things. So
Yes.
I have to do my best, even though I'm spoiled and I'm lazy in a sense, to let my 15-year-old boy know this is not normal. The life we live right now
Mm-hmm.
is very good. Even though you think your life's hard, because it is, because
Of
life is
course.
hard,
Yeah.
you need to fight the urge of being lazy. Because technology, let's face it, it's a cure to boredom.
Yeah.
And kids with the most energy, they need to be outside playing and
Mm-hmm.
in sports and just burning off that energy. But it's so easy to just burn off that energy on technology. So I need to let my son know, don't be lazy, fight that urge and go fight for it. Get out there. Try to be the best wrestler you could be. You have a garage outside gym. That's
Yes.
crazy. Go use it,
Yes.
even though you don't want to. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? When you're at school, do something to motivate you to want to get the best grades possible,
Amen.
to be a respectful kid, to acknowledge people when they open the door. When you see someone homeless on the streets, realize, don't be like one of these people say, well, why don't they just clean themselves up and get a job? But have empathy and know you don't know their story,
Yeah.
and it's not that easy.
Yeah.
So you just, you know, like my 6-year-old, he sees someone on the streets and
Yeah.
he's like, Daddy, is it because they didn't do good in school? It's like, you know what? I
Aw.
don't know. We all have a story, right? But we have
Yeah.
to make sure that we have compassion for these people
Yeah, for
and
sure.
help them if we can, right? And then you also need to realize you have a blessed life, but yeah, stay in school, son, and don't do
Amen.
drugs, right? You know,
Amen.
because that could be a factor too.
I love that. I love that. And who knows? And maybe the 6-year-old, his thing will be like finding out why homeless people are homeless and
Yeah.
talking to them and maybe helping them get off the streets. I tell Jordan all the time, I said, honey, this is not normal. I said, you know, that's why I took her to the Philippines so she could see how they live and the differences. And I remember the first time she's like, Daddy, the house looks like it's gonna like fall over. I was like, no, that's normal. That's how they
Sure.
live.
Yeah.
You know, and
You
it's
don't know any different.
don't know any different at all because like just like y'all, same thing for Melissa and I, we're cycle breakers,
Yeah.
and my dad was not really in my family, and we never had a big house or a podcast room or a show or anything. Like, what the heck? Are you kidding me? Like, my dad, he means well. He just didn't have the tools and didn't have the initiative. And God bless him, he went down the path that he went down. And if he went down a different path, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yep.
So I'm grateful. Thanks, Dad, for doing what you did because now I'm here. And that's where I love the contrast of being able to, if it's a car show and taking the cars out and sharing it with others so they can get a different perspective. And then I can give them some enlightenment, some knowledge about what is it like financing a Nissan GTR? What is it like having one? What does it look like for insurance, registration, stuff like that, which is cool. And it was funny. Jordan, my daughter, she's like, I don't want to take the GTR to school. I was like, why? She's like, I don't feel, I feel like the kids are going to judge me. And, a lot of kids don't have that at my school. I'm like, well, that's their decision. I said, they have the choice. I said, you have to take responsibility for your own emotions and your feelings, not the way that they feel. And try not to let their emotions and their feelings dictate the way that you feel, honey. I said, it's okay. And she wants to take things down a notch to make people feel a certain way, which I respect. From a 6-year-old, I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, girlfriend,
So mature.
so mature,
Yeah, she
dude.
is.
It's like, wow. So, but I can learn something from her too. I don't know everything as well.
Yeah.
And having things is nice, but it's a nice. It's not a need.
Yeah.
So I just use it as tools, and I like to share it
Yeah.
personally.
So cool.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, it's just that's crazy that you got started so early and just kept on keeping on. And I'm sure was there times, and who knows, maybe someone's listening or viewing right now who they're in the thick of it, right? Was there times where you two were just like, we're done,
We
we're
were.
throwing in the
time.
towel?
Yeah.
All the
Well,
time.
we broke up for what, 3 years?
Oh my God.
We broke up for 3 years when our daughter was 1.
Okay.
It was like we would fight so much that we had to drop off our daughter
Yeah.
to someone else. Otherwise, we would fight. So it was like I would have to drop her off at his grandparents, and then that's where he would pick her up. And so we were not talking at all.
Whoa.
Yeah.
At
for
what time
like,
was this around?
I think we were
16, 17, 18.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I know what you're gonna say. How we got back together.
Go ahead.
No, you can.
You like how Steve is so poised? He's just like, go ahead, honey, take it away.
Yeah, you take this one. I've been talking a lot.
He's like curious. How is she gonna handle it? What is she gonna say? You know, it's like we're exploring here.
Yeah. So we weren't getting along. And then for some weird reason, he, comes over, and I don't know if you pick up Jasmine. He's like, hey, I gotta go somewhere and I need to take Jasmine with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's just a little ounce of us being nice to each other. And then he
In
comes
3 years.
over. He comes
First
over. This is the first time we probably see each other because, again, we're
Yeah.
dropping her off somewhere else. And, like, I don't know why, but we start looking at pictures of her when she was a baby and start reminiscing, or so weird,
Aw.
right?
She's like, come into my house. Let me get your number. My friend wants your number. Just like when we were kids.
Replay.
And then I go out with my friends that night, and he calls
Yeah.
me, and I don't know, I was drinking, and
You
he
called me when you were drinking.
Oh.
No,
Getting the
did
short
I
and
call
skinny
you?
here.
Well, so he was like, "Hey, can I drop off Jasmine a little bit early because I want to go
Yeah.
to church?" And I'm like, "Well, we could go to church together."
Uh-oh.
So here's the thing. Let me back up a little bit. We had to split up. We just had to. I wasn't ready to have a relationship like I did. What I saw growing up wasn't healthy at all.
Yeah.
And I was kind of going down that path, and we just had to split up. And during the first 2.5, maybe 2 years, it was a battle. I secretly, truthfully missed her and always wanted her back. And the way I got over the breakup, because gosh, you just got to know, what am I, 16, 17? I do not live with my mom.
Yeah.
I do not have a dad. I have a kid. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm living at my grandparents. My grandmother doesn't teach me anything, but she loves me to death. She feeds me and takes care of me, but she's not teaching me anything. My grandfather, all he did was work, come home. And I saw, how he treated my grandmother. And, it was just, I was by myself.
Yeah.
Right. So I needed for us to split up so I could find my way by myself, because no one was going to show me but me. And so that's why I say having the kid kept me in line. Having my daughter reminded me, you have a daughter. You're effing up, but you have a daughter. You're going out, you're partying, you're fighting, but you have a daughter. You're getting drunk with your friends, you're driving with your friends, but when you have your kid, you have your daughter. So it just reminded me, keep your job, keep your job, keep your job, right? It always kept me slowly progressing until maybe when I was about 18, about the third year, I started to just have enough with trying to cope with being alone by partying and going to raves and all this crazy stuff that just wasn't healthy at all, that I just started detaching from my friends.
You moved
And
to
I,
Walnut Creek, right?
I actually moved to the amazing city of Walnut Creek.
love
My
Walnut
mom, I
Creek.
told my mom, I'm like, I'm lost out here, Mom. Because I was at my grandparents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, I'll get a townhouse so you could come stay with me. So
Wow.
it saved me. I detached from my friends. And I was almost like I was in rehab. I wasn't on drugs or anything, but I detached from the toxic environment I was 100%. I just stopped hanging out.
Wow, that's
100%.
powerful.
And I was bored but it was okay. It
Mm-hmm.
was almost like I was in rehab in a sense. And so I would just focus on myself, focus on my daughter, go to work. I was a bagger at Lucky's, right? Making $7.04 an hour. And then I got promoted to produce. I was making $13 an hour.
There you go.
And then I looked at my bank account one day. I was like, I have $3,000 in the bank because I'm not spending it on stuff with
hustling.
my friends. I was like,
Yeah.
this is big right here.
Yeah.
So when I had my daughter, even though we were fighting, I'd get her. When I did, I was like, dude, you're a good dad. You're taking her to the park. You're just cleaning her up. You're being really good to her, all that good stuff. And so then I started to kind of go in the garage and do push-ups. And there was no gym, but I felt like I needed to do something. So I remember I started like doing push-ups and curls. The next day, push-ups and curls. I would do the same thing every day.
Let's
So I
go.
started eating cleaner, feeling better, feeling clearer. And then I think she noticed I was just becoming a different person. I was just maturing. So she might have been attracted to like the new version of me because after like year 2.5 or two, I realized we're done. We're never going to get back
Yeah.
together. So don't think of her that way. And I was able to let go. And so it wasn't such a struggle when we saw each other. So it was more at peace when we saw each other. And plus I was a more calm, mature version. The 18-year-old version was nice. And so that one day I came to the door to pick up, or I was picking up
think you were
Jasmine.
picking her up.
She's like, you know what? Come inside real quick. For whatever reason, I had this feeling inside me like, wow, that's weird. The girl I've been like wanting back forever,
Yes.
just that shut me out, which she had to, that I just hated when I really loved her for the last 3 years, is inviting me in to sit on the couch and we're looking at pictures. This is weird, but it felt really good. So, anyways, we left on good terms. I go to the park with my daughter, and I had this feeling, this euphoric feeling like, what if we got back together? There's no way. It's not going to happen. It would never happen.
We haven't talked in
But I
3
had
years.
this feeling
Yeah.
like, but what if? And I just was like a kid all over again. That just had that feeling of love at first sight type thing. So, anyways, all day I was feeling a certain type of way, and then I go to sleep that night, and I'm still just thinking about it. And she calls me, and she was buzzing with her friends. We were kids, and she's like, "I still love you. I've always loved you.
Oh my
You're my
God.
first love." And I just was like,
Let's go.
"Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is crazy. She's always loved me. Of course she
Why
has
am
always
I
loved
always
me."
the one picking up on you?
Right.
Right?
So we went to church the next day, and it was awkward, and here's why. We go to church, and here, our daughter is now 4, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 or 4. And so she knows the version of parenting with me
Yep.
and the version of parenting with
Separated.
her. Completely different experiences because we've never raised her together yet. And she doesn't know mommy and daddy as a couple at all. She knows mommy and daddy as not getting along, right? So we actually held hands the first day, and our daughter didn't like it. She was separating her hands like, no,
Don't touch my
do that.
mom.
She was not used to us trying to show affection. And
Already programmed subconsciously.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then that night we just it was kind of awkward. You just got to imagine 3 years of just being angry with each other. Now we're trying to like, is this a thing right now? But it didn't feel like it clicked, but we were trying to fill it out
Yeah.
until that night we spent the night together. And the next day it was like, we were head over heels, all in every day. We're back to, we've been inseparable since, but your original questions, has there been times you wanted to, give up or whatever? We were 18. We're now 44. There's been many times through our life where we thought, I don't know if this is for us. We're done. We're moving on. But you just got to mature with that and realize we live together, we work together, we're together all the time. We've been together our whole lives. We have an amazing relationship. We're going to have arguments. We're going to get annoyed with each other, and that's okay because everybody is going to go through that, no matter who you are. So, no, relationships are never perfect, and they shouldn't be. Nothing's perfect in life.
No.
And that's why I say life is always hard, even if you have it made.
Yeah.
Life is still hard.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm so thankful and blessed that we have each other to live our hard life with and make the best life we possibly can.
Well, you chose your hard.
I did. I did choose my hard.
It's a beautiful hard, man. And
is a beautiful hard.
congratulations to both of you, the trials and tribulations and the triumphs. And it's amazing to see that like you could separate, and it was so beautiful the way that you articulated the fact that like you let go to then evolve to find yourself. And then did you have a feeling inside that did you see something different in him?
Yeah. I think it was more like, I yearned for that nice person.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because you've
And when
seen
he
it.
gave
You've
it
already
to
had
me-
that before, kind of, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just normally like a quiet person.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I did a lot of stuff to just kind of forget about, us.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as he was like nice and just that person that I wanted, not so much like I wanted him to be, but that
Yeah.
I knew he could be, I think it was just one of those things where, it just kind of opened it up again for me.
Wow. A
But
whole new world.
you know what, Norman? I learned so much from this girl right here because
Yeah.
she's quiet, but she's not quiet. But I remember, so getting back together in my 20s, I started taking our relationship for granted again. But the cool thing about Rose is she always believed that there's more out for
Mm.
her and us, me too. She's always believed that there's more for me. I just didn't see the picture because I
Mm-hmm.
always struggle with like maturing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing, I don't know if you know, have you heard of like the movie or the book The Secret?
Yeah.
It's my
So
favorite.
I knew
Yeah.
nothing about that, but she would be putting dollar bills on mirrors and writing $1 million and reading, and she started working on personal development in her early
Ooh.
20s
Let's go.
in a big way. And I started getting curious when I started maturing more in my 30s. And what I asked myself is, she keeps evolving, she keeps taking chances, she keeps taking risks, and she keeps failing forward.
Yeah.
I'm happy with where I'm at, but I'm also comfortable.
Mm.
Let me pick up one of these books that she's reading. Let me kind of see what she's doing. And that's where I think I picked up The Slight Edge was one of my first books. And thank God, because it's kind of an easy read too. I
Yeah.
don't know if you read it, but it's an easy read. It's just pretty much the moral of the story is anybody could be successful with the small little things compounded over time.
Yeah.
It's not like if you're this successful person, you are so much different than everybody else.
No.
But most people just do the same small little wins every day that in 10, 15, 20 years looking back,
Compound
it's like,
interest.
man,
Yes.
they become so successful what we look at. So that's where I started, and there's just so much with that, but she's always led the way with that.
I think so I've always been in like the real estate industry growing up. My mom was a realtor.
Okay. Okay.
So, she would always go to like these Tom Fair or not Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry
Mike
events.
Ferry, yeah, the
Yeah,
dad.
so we would be in Palm Desert every year swimming in the pool while my mom was in some seminar.
Yeah.
Now I know what they are.
Like, okay, no,
Yeah.
I connected the dots here.
But she's always done affirmations. I never knew what it was, but like when I got into mortgage, my manager gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich, and
Yeah.
that was like the first book I've ever read in personal
I
development.
love that book.
And so from that book, I moved on to like different books and then just stopped listening to music. And it was constantly like, you know, podcasts or reading or just driving in silence at a young age. I think I was
Mhm.
like 19,
Mhm.
20.
I used to think there was something wrong with her and my kids too. Like, you don't listen to music, it's quiet.
What's going on?
It's quiet.
Weird.
I can hear
It's strange because we're always bumping and like party.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh, sure, I'll play music, but she didn't think that way. She was thinking about other things.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it's
mean,
pretty cool
I
to see.
have I don't know. I tell myself I have like ADD or something because I'm constantly thinking about ideas and
Mhm.
how I can be better, or like what can I do? I just knew that working for someone wasn't for me. I've
Mm-mm.
tried different jobs. I mean, I
Mhm.
had a corporate job making almost $200,000 a year and I was just like, I don't like this.
Mhm.
And so like I said, with connecting the dots, I've done so many different things to where it helped me figure out how to work with different people.
Mm.
When I first was in real estate back when I was 18, 19,
Yeah.
I was so young and I was kind of embarrassed to put out open house signs. And then
You're gonna
when I
see
had,
me.
yeah, when I had clients, I was like, oh, they were always smarter than me because they're older than me. Like, I don't want to work with people who are in corporate because they're way smarter than me. Then I got into corporate as a project manager for a tech company, and I would have meetings with all these VPs and directors, and they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm like, really? These are the people I'm scared of? So now I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing to be afraid of. And so it just being able to work in different fields
Mhm.
gave me that confidence that if I know what I'm doing, they're not going to know anything better.
Mm.
And so it was I think, maybe in my early 30s
Mm.
where I started working on myself, where I found confidence in me.
Mm.
And I think that's when you start like really evolving because before I was always concerned about what other people think, if they thought I was dumb or if they're smarter than me. And then when I finally got to a point where like I was listening to things that gave me that confidence and told me that I was like really believed that I was enough and I was worthy of doing all these things is when things started evolving.
Mm.
And then Steven, so I keep going to stories because that's what
You're
we
good.
have, right? So we had our fourth child, and
Hmm.
out of all the kids we have, he's the only one that was planned. Everybody else was like whoopsies.
That happened, and it was fun.
And
Let's move on.
our last
Yeah.
one was 9. We
Ah.
were like ready to go, independent, and this guy was like, I think I'm gonna have another one.
Oh my God.
So we had another one, and my pregnancy was super healthy. I was working
Nice.
out. I was still doing like CrossFit in the beginning. And then when I got really big, I was, at a health club.
Mm.
And so the pregnancy was great. And then we had him, and everything, the delivery was good. And then a couple hours later, I had coughed and then
Mm.
just started gushing.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
I told my nurse, I'm like, hey, come clean me up. I'm sorry. I know you had just done that. And then so she comes in and she's just like cleaning and pushing on my stomach and cleaning. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And another nurse comes in and they're working on me. Then they put the Pitocin back in me and I'm like, okay. And I'm like sweating because they're pushing on me and it hurts. And
Oof.
he's like trying to calm me down because I'm like grabbing the rail of my bed because it was like, this freaking hurts more than having the baby.
Whoa.
So for like what, an hour, their third nurse comes in and they're just doing all this stuff and I'm like, am I okay? And they're like, you're fine, you're doing great. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just sweating and just, struggling.
Mm.
And then so finally at like 1 in the morning, the doctor comes in and says like, hey, I have to take you to the operating room. You're bleeding. I just got to take the clots out. And they were so calm and composed about it. I'm like,
No big
okay,
deal.
yeah,
Standard procedure.
yeah, yeah. So I go in the operating
Wow.
room, and I mean, you could go into your part of the story, but I woke up intubated.
Whoa.
Like, I woke up and I just had like a breathing machine. Like, I woke up, it was weird because when I woke up, I was still out of it and
Mhm.
I couldn't breathe for a long time. And I'm like, and I was strapped on the bed. So I was like, when I woke up, I thought I was dreaming because it happened a couple times where I woke up and
Mm.
I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air for what seemed like 20 minutes. And
Whoa.
then I would fall asleep, do it again, and then finally heard someone saying, breathe with it. And so I was like, okay. And so it was because I was intubated. So I asked the doctor what happened. I was like, was I dreaming? And she goes, no, that's typical for when you're intubated. You don't know that there's a machine breathing for you. So you feel like you're suffocating, but you're not suffocating because the machine's breathing. Otherwise, you would have died.
Whoa.
So what happened was I had a um, clotting disorder
Mm.
after I had the baby. My uterus was not healing. I just kept bleeding.
Yeah.
And so I lost my hemoglobin is about 13 and I was down to like I think 6.
Whoa.
And so my lungs were failing because I was losing so much blood. So they took
Wow.
an IV and transfused like 8 bags of blood.
You got an oil change?
Yeah, I got an oil change pretty much. Yeah, and
Gotta keep it
so-
light there, but shit.
yeah, pretty much. Cleansed it
Dang.
out,
Yeah.
And then so he was with the baby and like didn't realize how serious it was until the doctor called him.
Oh my God. And how what was coming up for you after you first heard the news? I mean, holy cow.
Do you want to hear this version of our life?
Sure.
Is
I
it
mean,
okay?
why not? Yeah.
Well, I've never told this story and not got choked up. So I don't know how you do it, and I'm probably going to get choked up.
Mm.
He probably had the worst more than I did. I was
Because So in our 30s, like she said, she started working on her confidence, all that, and I did too. And like I said, our 15-year-old kind of found a good version of ourselves.
Mm.
And that was in our 30s because I was working on myself too. So we skipped all the good stuff of us getting and finding ourselves and meditation and health. I mean, I really dialed in my health on a whole nother level. I started really finding myself confidence through the trade and through construction that I was in and becoming a foreman. And just, I finally had purpose, not only with my kids, but now I'm providing for the family. Like, it was just a good decade.
Mm.
And then just really on top of that, finding my health. I mean, I was so impressed with what I was to what I've become,
Mm.
also her. And then I decide I want to have a child because I want to experience what it's like now at this stage of our lives.
Yeah.
And so it was my decision. I'll probably get choked up again, sorry, but it was my decision to have this child in our lives, this stage of our lives. So when we were pretty much good in the clear, everything's good, right off into the sunset. And so she gets pregnant pretty quick. It was the first child that we planned. So
I
for
think
us
we
to
found out on your birthday too.
found out my birthday was great, and
Wow,
for
that's a
her to
birthday
have a
present, dude. Let's go, man.
it was for her to give birth that day and then almost lose her life that quick. And then the doctor, I didn't know how serious it was, and I asked the doctor, I was like, "Is this serious?" She's like, "Yeah, she could die." So I had to go home and tell my two girls that were asleep that only know that we have a new baby brother. Mom's super happy. Wake them up and say, and I could not talk. I was wrecked.
Dude.
I just couldn't spit out. They're like, what? And I just couldn't talk. It was kind of like earlier, but even more so. I was like, Mom's not doing good. Right. So you could just, so it gets hard. You get choked up because it's so real. And God, we could have lost her like that. And so we go to the hospital. They said, "Hey, we're trying our best." And then to see her with a breathing tube down her mouth, unconscious, it was crazy, right?
Mm.
But we made it, man. We did. She had a couple more hiccups, and we were there for seemed like an eternity. It was a week, but we got out of it. And I mean, there's so much to our story, so there's a lot of things we skipped over. But I think one point I want to point out in this situation is we started to find ourselves. We thought we made it in a sense, and it's just going to get better and better and better and better. I was in elite shape, and not just like looks wise, but just I was
Eating and
thinking
diet.
clear, like everything. I
Yeah.
stopped having brain fog because I stopped binging all the time. Like I just figured that out, and I was doing really good in the trade, and she was doing really good, and our kids are doing really good, and we're making more money. Blah blah blah. To we almost lost her. Then I lost my niece. Then I got put in the hospital. Then COVID. We lost everything in a sense, right?
Mm.
We went from figuring it all out to no, you didn't. Life's going to smack you in the face, even if you're doing the right things, and let you know I'm in charge, you're not. And now that was not that long ago,
Yeah,
5,
it was
6 years ago, 7
2018.
years ago.
Wow.
It went from the best decade to 2018 being the hardest year of my life. My
Well,
life.
so the reason why I
Wow.
brought that up though
Yeah.
was I remember being intubated, and I don't know who you were talking to.
Yeah.
And I was just like in and out of it because I
Mhm.
was still on medication. And I remember him sitting on the side of my bed talking to somebody. And he's like, "Watch, when she gets out of this, she's going to make something of herself. Like, she's just going to take it to the moon." And I don't know what it is, but that stuck to me.
Wow.
And and so, again, like he said, we had a really hard year after that. Like,
Mm.
so we made it through that. 6 months later, he had a stroke. And then 6 months after that, we lost our niece who's 23 years old.
How
And
does all
then
that happen?
and then COVID. We
It
thought
was
we were in the
hard.
clear.
It was so
Yeah.
hard. Like, how
Yeah.
did all that happen? Like, I
Mm.
was in the best shape of my life, and then I have a stroke. For the doctors say they don't know why.
And he was in Mexico.
She almost died. Our niece passes away, right? I mean, and then COVID. It's just, and then we moved to a place and started a new business. It was like, what and we have a new baby too.
Yeah.
That makes it harder. Like, what just happened to our lives?
Mm.
It's gone. And here's the point: we did not give up.
Yeah.
We did not give up. And so, like I said, the first year, 2 years in Sacramento, Rockland area,
Mhm.
I left the trade. She, left what she was doing. We knew no one out there, but we said on faith, we will make this work. And we
Mm.
tuned out the noise, we tuned out the news, and we knew even if we lost our house, we could always go back and pick back up. So we have to create this life, or we'll always do the same thing and never evolve. We'll
Amen.
live a complacent, mediocre life, good life, but there's more for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had to take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 years, well, the first year was really scary. We lost a lot of money quick, but gosh, we stuck it out.
Yeah.
And yes, life's still going to hit us in the face,
Mm-hmm.
kick us in the teeth. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But from those experiences, we learned that you don't give up.
Mm-mm.
You just don't give up.
Mm-mm.
Because if you do, then you're done. But if you just show up, and even if you can't show up every day, you show up the day you can't the next day.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you eventually got to show up.
Yeah.
And then keep showing up, and you will climb yourself out of whatever hole you put yourself in or life puts you in.
Amen.
But you just don't give up. And we're examples that you could lose everything in a sense 2 times in your life and still create the life on your terms. We say our life is created. We live life on our terms. We wake up when we want to. It's early, but it's on our terms. I don't have to get up super early and drive to a refinery and get bussed in and listen to "Don't kill yourself today," and if you do this, you're in trouble, and then get clocked out and fight traffic. That's their terms, and it's a great career, great path. I learned a lot, but I wake up when I want. I take my kids to school when I want.
You
I
work out
when I
for
want.
how long?
I do what I want. I go to sleep when I want. And believe me, we work hard. We always work hard, but we created the life on our terms, and we're still evolving.
Amen.
It's exciting, man. It really is. And anybody out there could feel like they're in the rock bottom. But I heard the saying once, the rock bottom is the perfect foundation to build the life you deserve. Rock bottom.
Rock bottom's pretty hard, so you can build on top
That's
of that.
you build on top of that.
Yeah.
So you can never dig a hole too deep that you
Yeah.
can't get out of.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I think one of the biggest things that we both enjoy is one, obviously fitness,
Yeah.
personal development,
Yep.
meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like in this era of my life personally,
Mm.
I've been very deep, not as deep as I want to,
Mhm.
I think, spiritually.
Yeah.
Amen. I love, and I was actually talking to your wife about this, but we
She's
were
all
like,
about it too.
yeah, I was telling her, I was like,
All
oh my
about it.
gosh, I was reading, because I told her, I said, I heard you were gonna do some retreats. I want to come.
Yes.
So I was telling her, I have this book by Gabby Bernstein, The Universe Has. She knew exactly what book. She's like, The Universe Has Her Back. I was like, yeah, that one.
I think I heard
Yeah.
far away.
So, I've been really into like meditation. I mean, I go in the sauna religiously. I wake up at 5:30, 5:30 more recently.
Mm.
I'll write my gratitudes and go in the sauna for 20 minutes, close my eyes, meditate.
Mm.
I'm really evolving in my spirituality with that, as far as like,
Mhm.
I'm learning to, you're not just setting goals. Anybody can write a goal.
Yeah.
And the reason why people fall off those goals is because they don't see the results.
Mhm.
But when you're meditating and you figure out this better way to meditate and visualize your goals and really feel yourself in that emotion and that state of where you want to be,
Yes.
it's that like experience, that joy. Like you have to like kind of like take your future self and like live into now and just be grateful for everything that you have. And then that energy and that vibe just like attracts everything to you. Like we had our best year ever, and I felt like it was so easy. I mean, yeah, we were busy all the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm always on my phone working or whatever. But like the people we brought into our lives, like the clients that we have, I make fun of it because like our avatar are like Filipino nurses relocating to Sacramento region, buying new construction homes.
Wow.
I feel like we attracted that. Like, what
Yeah.
are the odds of that?
100%.
So like I go into the sauna and I'm learning a lot of these like things from listening to like Mind Valley and just the different books that I'm reading on.
So that's where she meditates, FYI, is in the sauna.
In the
Got it.
She's in
I
there
love that.
with intention for sure.
Yeah, and if I don't go in the sauna, I'll like I'll just not have such a great day. And he has this thing. He's like, "Yeah, you go in your sauna. You go
Well, I want her to
manifest
go
that
because,
girl."
man, we have good days when she has a good sauna session.
I'll come in.
We
I'm
really
like,
do.
I had a great session, and all of a sudden, like we're so
So I'm
busy
happy.
that week.
Hey, we about to get something good.
Oh,
It's-
let's go, dude. I
Seriously.
love that. Let's go.
I mean, I love it. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, it just teaches you how to be aligned,
Mm-hmm.
and, just life should be in this like peace. Like you should be happy where you are now. You shouldn't be, because, like everybody says like, okay, we go to this goal and then
Yeah.
we're off to the next one and we're
Yeah.
off to the next one. And that's true for us.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that's kind of how humans are, where we want something and then when we get there we move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But then we forget to celebrate where we are and what we've done.
Yes.
And I've always been like that, where on to the next one, on to the next one. And this time I'm finally starting to slow down a little bit, but things still keep coming because I feel like I'm learning to align things to where it's like Elijah, our son, he has this thing last year. He was in kindergarten and I picked him up and he was like, "It is if it is, it's not if it's not." And I was like, "Whoa, you are a genius." And so I tell everybody that
Wow.
So, like you were saying, we could learn from our kids
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Amen.
That really, she says that a lot, and it really
All the
stuck to
time.
her.
That's huge.
It is
That's
just
beautiful.
A little
I
6-year-old
love that.
drop some game on mom.
he was 5.
5 years old.
It
Wow.
was crazy. I just looked at him. I was like, "Who are you?"
She need to hear that.
Yeah, no, I
Amen.
definitely needed to hear that. And it's funny because, like, how he says our children kind of see us in different phases of our lives.
Yeah.
We'll go in the sauna, and I'm like literally like crisscross applesauce, hands out. And he will sit outside of the sauna and he calls it nanaste. And he'll sit outside the sauna sitting just like me and close his eyes.
He
and
scared
he'll-
me one time because I was in the sauna with my eyes closed. I'm in there with attention too, and I open it, and he's freaking
Namaste.
namaste. And I'm like, "Whoa, what are you doing right
Let's
there?"
go.
The kids pick off what we're doing too.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know? They do, and they see us in the garage working out
Working
every
out
single day.
every
So guess
day.
what? My kids are pretty healthy.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love that. And it's awesome for the viewers and listeners out there. If you're finding value, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks, Liftoff, for sponsoring the show and follow these individuals because, man, amazing stories, which I never even heard before. And I love how it progresses from the perspective of like where you were to where you are. And because those things happen to you, I feel like it gave you the opportunity to tap into what's next. Right. And so, like, I'm reading a book right now. This is not for everybody. My wife and I get a little woo woo. And
I love
so,
that.
and it's outside of the fact of like the construct of a specific religion type, if you will. The book we're reading right now, or I'm reading, she'll get there, is so basically we went to the Tranquility event, 11/11. We had 2 of the founders on. Y'all probably seen those episodes now. They're live, and we had Daniel on. And Daniel, he basically he's an enlightened being or person. And 5 years ago, I think a lot of us during COVID, it's really
Yeah.
changed a lot of us,
Yeah.
and it gave us different perspective. And so he gave me this book, and it's called Spirit Hacking, and it's written by a shaman, and the shaman has crazy stories. Like this guy, he literally went from he comes from a lineage of shamans, and he sees things like spirits or whatever the case may be. And his dad knew that he would be going down this journey, and his dad actually beat him multiple times because he said, "No, you're the devil.
Mm.
Do not listen to that. Don't intuition." Tried to hold it back for him, and the mom and the dad separated, right? And eventually, the mom said, "No, it's his time. He needs to learn." And he got to a point. I haven't got through the whole book. Don't want to ruin the whole show, but like he literally died and like came back, had seizures, was totally healthy, just like you went through the stroke situation. And he put it in perspective, which is super interesting about the Matrix. And he said the Matrix is something is a construct that's been set up. Where if you think about it, what is the Matrix? Okay, you're born. Okay, great. You have your siblings. Okay, great. You go to school. Okay, great. Then you go to college. Okay, great. What's your major? You meet your partner. Awesome. You start your career. Then after your career, then you have a child. And after you have a child, you go through 30, 40 years of your career. And then your child has kids. You then retire. And it's a system that's set up. And so when it's set up for you that way, you don't have the opportunity to then be enlightened or see anything different because you're just following this pattern. And so he talks about breaking the pattern. He talks about the matrix, and it was crazy. It was so beautiful listening to what you're saying. And this is exactly why I founded the Liftoff experience because I would like to help and be the catalyst. And I could feel this in the process of helping individuals wake up and see that there's a total different world out there when you control it and you don't let the powers that be control you. And like you said, like my wife's working on it, slow down,
Yep.
slow down. Like, what do we just say during lunch? You're like, yeah, I'm going on vacation, under contract,
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like crazy, and the same thing for us as well. And when you let it go and you just let love, it's amazing.
Well, I think I was telling you guys earlier. I was reading this book, "Be Extraordinary" by Vishen
Mm,
Lakhiani.
mm-hmm,
I think
mm-hmm.
that's who it was. He says that we are conditioned by the things that we've learned from our parents, from our grandparents, from everybody,
The
right?
lineage from,
Right. And so we only see what we've been taught. Well, he
mm,
said that they did some studies on, uh, I don't know, like a colony or a tribe where they
yeah.
didn't learn the word blue. And
Mm.
so when they went over there and showed them like the geography or like the globe or something, they couldn't see the ocean because they didn't know the color blue. So they didn't know
Mm.
what that was. And so what he was saying was that when we are taught certain things, we only know those certain things, and language is very important. So the
Yeah.
language that we're learning is what's conditioning us and what we see.
Mm.
And so if they didn't know what the color blue is, they're not going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're learning certain things and we're not taught a different way, we can't see that way.
Yes.
And so that is so interesting to me because I mean, I'm with my kids, it's like school's important, but I think different things that they don't learn in school is more important. And so, especially with this kind of stuff, like, teaching the kids, financial well being in ways that really apply to the world.
Amen.
Even just like, I don't know, the way they just teach things are so old school. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good to learn that stuff, but like, I feel like it's just they need to evolve a different way because we're just evolving so quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they need to learn kind of like even this whole like spirituality part of
Mm-hmm.
it to where they could really do things if they choose to believe in themselves versus like with my boys it's like you know they reprimand him for being a little kid. It's like kindergarten. Oh, your son was touching people, he kept playing on circle time. I'm like, dude, he was at school for 6 hours. Like I can't even sit in a 1 hour meeting.
He's a kid.
Right. And so you're conditioning them that that's not okay to move their bodies, to do all these things, to be
Why?
hyperactive,
To be in tuned.
right? And they've always told my son, my 15-year-old, even from kindergarten, trying to get us to get him diagnosed with ADHD.
Then put
And
him
we're
on
like,
medication.
100%.
absolutely not.
Because they didn't want to
Deal with
deal
him.
with the energy
Right.
he had,
Yeah. And
which
so,
most of the kids had that, to be
And
right.
honest with
it's
you.
beautiful energy if they were just to just explore it.
But then
We
you
were
sit
we
him
were at
down.
the airport
Well,
coming over here, and remember those two
oh,
kids
yeah,
that were
he was
running
11.
back and
Yeah.
forth, running back and
Yeah.
forth. They have so much energy. Like, wouldn't it be awesome just to
If
get
we
a
had
little?
that.
And I also said, could you imagine if adults had that energy and they're all running around like kids? That would be insane. But it's really a time where I really appreciated these kids
Yeah.
just being
Yeah.
kids. And
But
then
it's
last night too,
the
going in
kids
our
playing.
balcony, they had a huge grass area, and there's probably 50 to 100 kids, probably at 9 p.m. because they're on vacation too, running around playing football. The parents, kids have a lot of
Yeah.
energy. The
Yeah.
parents are watching them. They're not running around playing football. They're letting the kids have energy.
Yeah.
So to
Mm-hmm.
try to medicate that and keep them
That used to drive me
conform down and
nuts.
sit down, it's like we see our 15-year-old now just blossoming and maturing, and the energy level
Yes.
is now being transferred to just this amazing
Yeah.
son of ours.
Yes.
I'm so glad we didn't experiment on
Yeah.
anything. Not to say that
Absolutely not.
certain kids, obviously medications for a reason, but he didn't need it, and
Well,
he's amazing.
I think for us, it was like he was too young for us to even consider that.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm not hyperactive,
Mm-hmm.
but my thoughts are going all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand kind of where he was coming from.
Yeah.
But like if you sit him down at that age with a Lego set, like
Mm.
little tiny
Mm-hmm.
pieces of Lego,
I
he
love
would build
Legos.
something for like 2 hours. And I'm like, how can he have ADHD and sit there for 2 hours building something? And so we were like, no, we're not doing that. And we even switched schools at one point because of that.
Congratulations. Parents out there, maybe something to take consideration.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so now
And also just give them time to
yeah.
mature.
Yeah.
He's an amazing boy. We look
Yeah.
at him now, like I tell him, I was like, I'm an Anthony fan, dude. I pulled him over one day. I was like, I'm an Anthony fan. I love what you're doing. And he loves that I'm
Yeah.
saying that and
Oh, he
acknowledging
loves
it
it.
Of
too. 'Cause
course.
then he wants to do better, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you're being an amazing brother.
Let me show you, Dad.
You're
Yeah.
just, I'm just so happy with you. You're so, and then that feeds him to even want to do
That's
better.
beautiful.
But it took a while for him to grow into himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still immature. I mean, I love
He's
that
15.
guy.
He's a kid, but he's an amazing 15-year-old.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cool to see.
I love
But
that.
it's just, it's one of those things where like I was even talking about Jordan about reading with Michelle, right? And I was like, it's okay. They all evolve at their own stages. Like we've had 4 kids, and every elementary school, they're like, your child is behind on reading. I'm like, it's okay. They will learn.
Yeah.
And 2 of our kids, the 21 and the 15-year-old, they've always been like, they're behind. They're going to struggle, blah, blah, blah. 5th grade, 4th, 5th grade, all of a sudden they pick up reading and they're on their grade level. They just
Dude.
needed extra time.
Let's go. I love that.
Yeah, and so like my daughter, who was supposed to struggle for the rest of her life, got straight A's in high school.
Wow.
My son Anthony, he's a very good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Learned snowboarding very quickly,
Wow.
very in tune with his body, and he's getting, A's, B's, and C's in school,
Yeah.
but he's not, he's
Yeah.
excelling. And it's like, you can't put these kids in a box, right? And that's the problem with school. It's like you have to learn these things at these levels, but we're all different. We all evolve differently. We age, we mature differently.
Yeah, good old Lau.
I think a huge thing with our kids too is, and I started to see a lot of growth in my 15-year-olds. It's just been a great example, working on their confidence, trying to find a way to they need to find out how to believe in themselves. Confidence is challenging to get sometimes for a lot of people. He was one of them because he's always been told, you're struggling, you're behind, you're all over the place. And so he started to believe that that's just who he was. And once we really started to say, hey, no, don't be conformed by what people are telling you. You could do it. You just need to try harder.
Yeah.
And then you try harder. I'd be like, see, you can do it, right? Or he'd get a good grade out of nowhere. See, you could do it, right? You could do it if you put your mind to it. Good job. You got to put in the work though.
Yes.
Because if you don't, it ain't going to happen. And just plant those seeds. And then he starts getting these little wins. And then he starts believing like, maybe I can. And now having those wins over years now, and now he's 15, it's like, I'm like, you see it now? Do you see it? He's like,
Yes.
yeah. I was like, do you see you're a badass, bro? I get it. I was like, you could do anything. And I tell him
love
now, I was like,
that.
listen, you could accomplish way more than what me and your mom are doing. And I literally tell him that you could. And I say, I'm not just saying this because you're my son. I'm saying it because I believe it. I truly believe it, that you have something in you and you could, one, not do anything. You could fail. You totally could fail. Just because you have what you have, and I'm saying what I'm saying, doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
But if you put the work in, you could just do so much more than what you see me and mom doing. You could do that. And listen, I want you to be the next Gonzalez in line. I said, you're taking my place.
Yes.
When I started talking to him like that, I think he started feeling this responsibility. And now look at him. He's such an amazing brother to his older sisters, his younger brother. And then he feels good that he's getting good responses for them. So he's a good friend. He's a good person to other people because he sees that, man, when you respect everybody,
Yep.
everything just seems to work out better. We're all connected. So I've always told him, that person just filled your water. Thank them. Don't just not look at them. Thank them. They opened the door. They held the door for you. Don't just walk by. You acknowledge that. And now he's doing that. And I'm like, Anthony, I'm a fan, dude. You're crushing it. I love what you're doing.
There
Now
was
you
a
kill it out there.
Yeah.
And
There was
it's cool
one
to see.
time
I
where
love that.
so my mom has dementia, so she's in a assisted living. So I went and picked her up, dropped her off. Everybody was eating pizza, and
Mm.
I had walked into the house and everybody was eating, and they're like, "Mom, your son made a plate for you." Everybody was
Pizza
scarfing
was
down.
gone.
Yeah, everybody was scarfing down food, and he put a plate of food away for you.
Aw.
It's in the microwave, and I
But
was
we all
like,
forgot about mom. And he said, I need to make sure my mom eats because she takes
Yeah.
care of me. And
Yeah.
those are the signs I need to see of
"Yeah,
a kid. I like, you don't have to get straight A's.
Yeah.
You don't have to get straight A's. You just need to try.
Yeah.
And you need to be respectful. And you need to acknowledge your mom and me.
Yeah.
Because gosh, it's cool to see that he's a believer now. And
Dude.
like the sky's the limit. So
That's awesome. I
it's
love that.
exciting.
I think in that segment, anyone, parents out there, it's a way to be able to navigate. And like you said earlier, like slowing down gives you the opportunity to see the bigger picture. And a quick little history lesson for y'all. 10x over 2x is a really good book that you read. And in the book, it talks about during the reason why the system is what it is during the Industrial Revolution when it was like Andrew Carnegie and then Think and Grow Rich. And then he went and interviewed all the different individuals. Well, you know why there's Monday through Friday? It's because of Henry Ford. So what happened is that they started to introduce the workforce, and so then you would work technically Monday through Saturday, and then you have Sunday off, and that's for your family. And so what happened was Henry Ford said, well, I want everyone to have our vehicles. We're at production level. We have more that we can produce that there are demand, and our employees and our staff members they can't afford our cars. So what they did was, and it talks about in the book, he's like, all right, we're gonna give them 3 times the salary. We're gonna work them Monday through Friday and allow them to buy a car. Then if they have Saturday off, they could use the car to drive around to go do things. So we've been indoctrinated back in the 1800s to where we're at in 2025. But if we got creative and slowed down, and the problem is that the government's not going to change anything anytime soon. So we, as the people, have to take responsibility for our education system and what we're doing and how we're navigating it. And it's sad, like you see people that are taking their kids out of the school system, like Grant Cardone,
mhm.
because you have to teach to their passions, not
Yes,
teach to the book.
yep,
And there's a paradigm shift there because then you could be like, okay, cool, like let's just do some fact checking. Like, what do you like? You like to build? Lego's your thing? Okay, cool. You could be an engineer.
yep."
Oh, you like arts? Oh, maybe you can be the next Mozart, or you like music, or whatever.
Because
You
we
like to
all learn
write?
differently.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was even times in middle school or like in, I don't know, it was maybe elementary school. They were like, yeah, he just doesn't really do good in class. And, he's just loud when we're doing reading. But then when we do things with like mechanical stuff and building stuff, he is like focused. And I'm like, well, I mean, what do you want me to tell you?
Yes, and then you take that and then you incorporate it with the reading. So
Yep.
then, like Jordan was, she was playing Roblox,
Yep.
and so there's a class dojo for the parents out there, and so there she can play around, and then she can win things by equations that she can answer, math equations
Mhm.
within the game. And then we had the reading. Now it's a reading game, and she likes
Yeah.
she likes cats, and so it's a cat that teaches you different reading, and you saw it during lunch, and so we need to be more creative out there as leaders and as parents, and we need to slow down and ask ourselves, because I feel like there's no longer can we just be like, okay, you're off to school, goodbye, and then let the teachers be responsible for it. Like she has like 40 something kids in her class
Yep.
with 2 teachers. It's like it's overwhelming. And then Jordan, of course, she's like the one girl in the whole class who has one little desk at the front of the class because she can't focus. And then you saw with all 4 of us, she really wants our attention because she wants to be the center of it. And she's obviously 6, so she's learning. But yeah, I'm excited, and I think that just this conversation and just 1, 2, 10, 15, 20, hundreds of people that see this can potentially be like, what can we do to update our systems and our processes? Because
That
life
would
should
be
be it
amazing.
should be fun.
It should.
That's why
And honestly, when we have fun, that's when like things kind of
That's when
happened.
things get done. When you're having fun, things
Right.
get done.
Yeah, I know. We should have a slogan.
I
There's
like
something
that.
about kids too, like in schooling, that is good. I think it's necessary. We just need to kind of like, I guess,
Tweak it to their learning style.
yeah, right.
Yes.
Definitely, there's some change that needs to be done. But I want to say a lot of my son's confidence and my nephew's confidence came through sports in school.
Hmm.
That's cool. That's huge.
Really did. I saw a huge shift in my son through us lifting
Wrestling.
him up, him believing it, him having little wins, but also finding an amazing outlet through wrestling,
Yeah.
and the amazing friends he's made that have these goals to want to go be something with themselves and be
Yeah.
state wrestlers and go to college. And now he's seeing that he's around that environment, a completely different environment I was in when I was a kid.
Yes.
Right. And so, like I say, I'm a fan. I just love what you're doing. Your life is so amazing. You need to realize that it's really good, and you need to not be lazy and just really fight the urge to just not want to do anything. So I have to
Yes.
remind him. But school, sports have been a
Yeah.
huge factor in his confidence.
Yeah, and thank God that's something that's in the school system to help with
Yeah,
that
it really
process.
does help.
You know, and Jordan, I don't know if she certainly cares too much for sports. And then Melissa was talking about, okay, what could we do? She likes
Sure.
swimming. Okay,
A
cool. Could
swim
she be
team.
on a swim team? Exactly.
We did
So
swim team.
we're
Maybe drama or something, art,
Mhm.
musician. Like, what does she like to do? Or maybe you have to try a few things
Yeah.
to see what she
Well,
likes to
so
do.
with
Yeah.
Anthony, because he was so hyperactive, we had him in
We tried
every
a bunch of stuff.
sport.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
did swim team, jiu-jitsu. We tried ice hockey.
Nice.
We've done
Soccer,
soccer,
baseball,
Yeah.
football.
baseball, football, and then finally he was like, "I want to try wrestling in middle school," and we're like, "Okay." And then so that's how it evolved. We just tried everything until he figured out what he wanted. He was really good at swim.
Yeah.
He was on the swim team, and he was pretty good.
That's cool.
And so we knew like he was an athlete. We
Yeah.
just didn't know what he wanted to do, and so just him kind of maturing and stuff, he wasn't always like all in on any sports, but we just knew he was good.
Yeah.
But like now with wrestling, he's kind of being more all in.
Found his
And so
calling.
he like last season, he killed it. He was
Let's
like
go.
a
Let's
couple of
go.
yeah, a couple of the JV tournaments, he was like the number one.
Wow.
Like most scored points in a tournament, and he had a really good year. And I remind him there's levels to this game.
Yeah.
So if you want to get to the next level, you just got to work harder than the other person.
Yeah.
Don't just show up to practice and think that's going to get you to that next level. You have a gym. Let's work it. You got to watch videos and get better. Plant those seeds. I don't force them to do anything, but I plant those seeds. Like if you want to get to that next level, varsity next year, maybe get in the state, go to college. It's not going to happen with where you're at right now. Right now, you're varsity,
Yep.
you're JV
JV.
level because you're doing JV stuff and you're doing really good at it. So you need to do something a little bit more to get to the next level, and a little bit more
love
to get to
that.
the next level. We cannot do what we're doing and expect a different life.
Nope.
No matter what we do, that's the life we're creating. I have a great life, so I must be doing something right.
Yes.
But if I want more, I need to keep evolving.
Oh,
If I
100%.
want to keep doing what I'm doing, I keep doing what I'm doing. If I want to go backwards, I let off the pedal a little bit. It's
love
my
that.
choice.
I love that. Yeah, it makes a huge difference, and so that way they can be able to make their own decisions because there's a lot of individuals, and it's more old school. It's not as much now, but maybe your parents doing this. It's like you take your kids, you throw them in school, they go to school,
Yep.
and then you put pressure on them because you think that they need to be whatever straight A student, or you want them to be that star athlete or whatever, and that's not what they're in line with. And so now no one understands them. They feel like, okay, mom doesn't understand me, dad doesn't understand me. Like I'm being forced to do these things. I don't want to do these things. And that can only be like, I mean, talk about a demoralizing feeling. So kudos to both of you for being like, hey, like, let's try all these things. Let's see what you like to do.
Something's got to work.
Something's gonna
Yeah,
click,
yeah.
And that ties into my next segment because you two are a prime example of living your true, authentic, and in-lined careers, gym, daily activities, sauna, meditation, personal development and growth. So, how do your kids, or do they come up to you? They say anything from the perspective of like, "Mom, what do you exactly do?" Or "Dad, what do you exactly do?" Or "How does it work?" 'Cause I know you said at lunch that your daughter's now looking at kind of maybe dabbling and looking at maybe the real estate side of things. So, like, does that come up for them?
So I mean, a lot of our kids at one point wanted to be realtors.
Really?
And I think they see like, how we live and how we get to do life right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they don't understand how hard it really is. So, and I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people, get into real estate for, is just
Yeah.
the glitz and glam that they see on social and stuff like that, right? So it's a little bit hard to gauge, what they really want. Because, I mean, our 21-year-old's doing real estate with us now. um our son has said, "Oh, I'll do real estate," and we're like, "Oh," and then actually recently my oldest was like, "Oh, real estate sounds kind of fun." Her husband was, interested in real estate. My
Yeah.
daughter's ex-boyfriend was. So it's like, I
But
mean,
I
they
think it might
see.
be for the wrong reasons too. And when it comes to real
Yeah.
estate, because social media is going to show
Yeah.
a fun, easy. We have a great life on social media, and we have a great life outside of social media. But
Yeah.
they don't realize that. Wow, we put in a lot of work to get where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to remind them, like, it's not
It's hard.
for everybody.
Yeah.
And you really have to be resilient and resourceful,
Yeah.
and you got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Because, like I said,
Amen.
if you don't do what we're doing, you're not going to achieve what we have. Are
Yeah.
you willing to do what we're doing? And there's a lot of stuff we're doing on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, I mean, and then they see, obviously, like they see our home, they see how we live, they see we can go on trips and do all these things. They do see that I work a lot, that
Yeah.
we work a lot, and they always say, "You're always working, you're always working." So it's like, but then they show interest in it. So
Mhm.
I mean, they haven't really like dove really deep into it, but
Yeah.
our oldest daughter, she's 28, she asks me about books. So she's now
Mm.
starting to want to read books.
That's
And then
cool.
our 21-year-old and our 15-year-old now work out in the garage.
Yeah.
Elijah, our 6-year-old, he's always been like, I want to work out. We have multiple videos.
he's
of
the
him
one trying
working
to
out.
do namaste with us.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
6-year-old,
I
right?
love that. I love that.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think by leading with action, they're
Mhm.
just gonna naturally like figure their own paths,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just kind of watch what we're doing. Because I mean, we're getting, I mean, we're not old. We're 43, 44,
Yeah.
but we're still going to the gym every day,
Mm-hmm.
doing competitions,
Heck yeah.
and it's like one of those things where, I wasn't even working out when I was in my 20s. I was out drinking, eating Jack in a Box at 3 o'clock in the morning with my
$2
friends.
double taco.
You know what I'm saying? Get it.
Right?
Chicken sandwich, Jack in the Box.
Yeah. And then, you hear people say, like, "Oh, I'm too old for that."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I just learned how to do a muscle up when I was like 43 years old. Like, what do you mean? And then we work out with younger people. Like, my gym buddy, she's 33.
There you go.
And she's the one that's getting us to do high rocks. And
That's awesome.
like, I have a 3-day CrossFit competition for 3 days coming up in
Wow.
like 2 weeks with her. So it's like, I could say I'm too old for that, but it's like, or I could say it keeps me young, right?
But you know what? The kids are a product of their environment, and you see curiosity, but it's almost like they want to find it on their own too. So like
Oh,
a
yeah.
21-year-old daughter, she's like, man, I think real estate could be good for me, but I don't want to do it because you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
So she wants to do it on her own terms,
independence.
right? And she goes out, she works out, and tries to find her own way. We all have to see someone we admire, but still find our
Yeah.
own way, right? So
And that's kind of like with me and my mom.
right.
Yeah.
Right? My
Sure.
mom was a realtor, and I told myself I would never be a realtor. Literally, I was like, I don't want to be a realtor. Like,
Welcome to the business.
yeah, and I tried it when I was younger. It was like door knocking, calling people, saying, "Hey, I'm your friend. You want to buy and sell with me?" And I was like, "No."
I'm
But
good.
social media was a game changer,
Yeah.
a huge game changer. I mean, it brings out who you are as a person, and then you
Mhm.
attract the right people to come into your life, and it doesn't feel like a push and pull.
Mm-mm.
It's literally like people who reach out to us are people just like us, and
Yeah.
we could be friends with them.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. No, 100%. Your vibe creates your tribe at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
And I truly believe that. And
Oh,
for
yeah.
us to go from the Bay Area to Sacramento and build what we've built in
Mhm.
that short amount of time is incredible. With
Yeah.
the YouTube channel, with the Instagram. I mean,
Mhm.
people walk around. We had a photo shoot with our team, and I was wearing our Living in Northern California shirt, and I was at the store getting some drinks for the team. And some lady walks up to me and passes me by, points to my shirt, and she's like, "I follow you guys." And she's not even looking at my face; she's looking at my shirt. And so it was like we
Branding.
build a brand that people recognize.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it was really cool to see that. And then one of our team members at that time, he said that he got recognized. Like someone came up to him and was like, "Oh, you're with Living in Northern California, like
I follow
Steven
you on
Rose."
Instagram,
Yeah.
and I've seen that somewhere. It's pretty cool to get that a lot.
That's beautiful. Congratulations on that. It's so true. It is interesting. It was funny speaking of the kids. Jordan was like, Mommy, you have Red Zen tea, and Daddy, you have Liftoff Agent, but I don't have anything. And I was like, honey, one day it'll come together, and you'll figure it out, and you're gonna see what you're gonna do.
Did you know what you were going to do at an early age? Like,
Mm, so when I first started, I was like selling cars, and then I told the general manager to go fuck himself. That's another whole other story. So I stopped selling cars, and
was
then
that your first job or one of your
no,
first
no,
jobs?
first job was like I was 13
Sure,
at
okay.
like an apartment complex, like
So you
cleaning stuff and toilets and throwing trash and
because what you wanted to make money at 13?
oh yeah, I saw the whole writing on the wall, bro. I was like, dude,
Yeah,
what the heck?
yeah.
This is interesting. I was like, I could do this for this much time and make this much money, and then I was like wanting to buy shit. Wish I would have been like, I want to save, but no, I want to buy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, 13, and then after that, I got into like pizza, delivery boy, and then Monument Car Parts, and then Safeway, and then Costco, and Champ Sports, slinging shoes, to like getting into like a little bit of construction and got out of that, and then I got into this car sales for 3.5 plus years, and I was selling stuff online for my friends on Craigslist when I was just starting to dabble. But I mean, I stumbled upon real estate just with
Mm.
calling J. Rockcliffe Realtor boutique brokerage back in the Bay Area to find out what I was going to get into. And I've always been someone that likes to like motivate or serve or support, and I just didn't know who. And then it just kind of snowballed into real estate. And then now it's interesting because now this is evolving, this whole liftoff experience thing. And not only is it evolving now, like meeting people in the car world because I love cars, and then y'all coming out, and then now then like you told me about the shirt thing today. You're like, oh, you should do shirts. And
Yeah.
one of my other guys, a buddy of mine's like, oh, can I get a liftoff agent hat? I'm like, you want a liftoff agent real estate marketing service hat? Like, okay. So now it's starting to click. Like, oh shit. Okay, now I gotta build like shirts and like merch, and
Wait,
then
was that lift off hella extra?
yeah, lift off hella extra. Let's go. Merch coming out soon.
Oh, because his
Um,
his his truck is wrapped liftoff agent. His shoes has liftoff agent.
Well,
We gotta
yeah.
get tatted.
Yeah.
I got
Liftoff
the
agent hella
We
extra.
were
I
we
got the
were
Got
we
the
were walking in
woo,
the
yeah.
gym, and you were showing us all of your swag, and you have like turned back, it says hella extra, huh? And I'm like, dude, that is so you.
dude. I
Like
love
lift off
that.
hella, like you came up with it yourself, but you didn't even realize that you did.
I didn't even know, dude. And it's interesting because for the longest time I tried to push too hard,
Mhm.
and I got to a point where I'm like, I don't really need to anymore. And because of that, after getting to a certain threshold of like financial wealth and abundance and the team and then the referral network, and then now it's like a snowball. So now I'm like, I'm getting to play, dude.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like I want to play, and it's crazy that you said hella extra because I want to buy land, and I want to do this warehouse collective, and I want my wife's tea company to be in there with car storage and like cold plunge and like a cool spot when it's
God,
115 in
I think I want to
Arizona.
move to Arizona now.
It's gonna be hella extra. And so I'm just like, what? And so now it's like it's interesting because today was one of those moments because y'all flew out here and we're driving the truck, we're going to the gym, and there's a couple of my buddies there, and then it was just like this in like quick just moment of time where you'll see like this big name influencer on social media, whatever else, right? And you look at them and you're like, wow, like that's so cool. And it's like, man, like it's getting closer to feeling like it's my time
Yep.
and I get to shine, and I'm gonna make sure that it's hella extra now that you keep
Yeah.
planting that fucking seed. And I wanna do something like super different with it. Like super different.
Well, every time we see you,
Yeah.
this guy is like a big fan.
I appreciate
Like
you, dude.
loves you. He's like, hey, that's my
Appreciate you.
man Norm. Look at his
I'm
outfits.
such a believer in you.
Yeah.
I just like when I see someone going all in
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
you do, I respect that. Respect the F out of that, dude. And every time I see you, I'm like,
Yeah.
my thing's not he's hella extra, even though that should be the thing, but it's just like you're all in.
Yeah.
That's
You're
it.
all in. You're
That's
all
it,
in.
dude.
And that's why you've created and manifested a life on your
Well, I
terms.
remember when you
Amen.
first spoke, your first stage
Yeah.
engagement at Play Bigger, right?
Yeah. That
You
was one of
came
the
up
first.
to us, you're like, I'm so nervous. I don't know what I'm going to say. I've been like, and then to watch you when you did the Focus and Fire,
Yeah.
how much you've evolved since then. And even like
Yes.
watching your Instagram growth and just everything that you're doing. We see you all the time, like on your Instagram. Like you're just evolving.
Dude, it's
Can I ask you a question?
beautiful. Yeah.
What are your insecurities and fears? Do you have any? Are you,
Um,
anything that you struggle with that holds you back sometimes?
Not so much. What's happening now for me is I'm going through this spiritual awakening from the perspective of like going into a different direction to be more enlightened and not really care, which I never really did, but like what people think about me or what they're gonna say or whatever. And I'm just trying to navigate this new profound process of like someone will see you and you'll meet them and they don't know you, you don't know them, and then they don't know. And I don't want to say like there's levels, but there's kind of like levels, right? Like
Yeah.
you've worked so hard to get to a point to achieve certain things, and you have knowledge or whatever to be able to serve or to give or whatever, but you still need to like not prove yourself, but kind of prove yourself. They got to show the people, like, so like new people I'll meet, they'll follow me, I'll follow them, and then they'll start. I see them, they start watching my stories, they start seeing what's going on, and then it clicks, and then next thing you know, like today, there's a guy at the gym, and then he's like, "Oh, what's up, boss?" And like that was the first time he ever said that. So for me, it's like understanding to keep it humble, just
Mhm.
keep showing up and just be your true authentic self and then let yourself shine organically and then let people come to you or ask you questions or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be with that. That comes up for me, and then outside of that it's just listening to my intuition. I'm also working through like things personally, like whether it's negative thoughts or things that come up that I'm like, why am I thinking this? And so when I'm reading the Spirit Hack book, it's saying that you need to accept the thoughts that are coming in, even if it's like obscene, negative. I would never do that type of thought, and just accept it and then move through it. So then that way you can get to the other side to then become this enlightened person where you can help other people move through it. So that's where it's like I used to dabble and smoke weed, and now I'm like, you know what? Like I don't really like the shaman says, like I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't want to my temple. He's like, I keep it as pure as possible because I'm curious how much can I open up my intuition
Mhm.
to hear or see or to just show up in ways that like I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
100%. Yeah.
So powerful.
that's
I've tried to dabble in like maybe even smoking too, and then I just realized it's not for me because sometimes when I do it, it makes me think of
The
my
bad
life and
stuff.
like, oh, I need to maybe work a little bit harder. In a
mm,
sense, it's kind of good in that sense. But at the end of the day, it's not for me.
yeah,
So why force it?
yeah,
Same with liquor too. We used to drink a lot when we were younger, just because that's what I was around. That's all I
yeah,
knew.
yeah.
And then now I feel like we should have a beer because we're swimming. But now I'm like, why? I don't
Oh, you know
really
what we
care.
did?
I don't need it.
Right?
I don't
I
really need to drink. But not to say, I think we had a beer a couple
We
days ago. I'm
did.
like, oh,
But
that's actually really good. But I don't need to drink
Correct.
just to have a good time.
we brought I told him, I'm like, I was so excited. I'm like, I don't know if I'm old or what, but I have, we brought shaker cups. I'm like, ooh, I brought the mango chili element, the electrolytes, and it can feel like we're drinking at the pool.
That's
Right?
old people shit. Yeah.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I'm like, I'm gonna have some BCAs, bro. Like,
But
you
like the
know,
new
I'm gonna juice.
the new age of kids, they're not really
No.
as much into that. Like
No.
let's say drinking, for
Yes.
instance, they're more finding into if they want to
Fitness these
fitness,
days.
health, stuff like that. We're
Yes,
starting to
the
see
cold
that.
plunge, the fitness,
Yeah.
like the infrared, like it's completely, and I think it's on a different level consciously because this is what comes up for me. Like I would go around my family and I would find myself like, whatever, I hit the pen, right? So wax pen, hit the pen, and then what happens when you go to parties with your family? There's just a shit ton of food.
Food.
So I'm smoking a pen, then I'm eating the snacks and this, that, and the other thing, and then what I'm doing? Then I'm getting on the couch. I'm like,
Taking a
"Ugh,"
nap.
and then I'm like either taking a nap or I'm like on my phone and I'm just watching this video or whatever. And I'm not
Disengaged.
showing up the way I'm showing up with us right now and everyone who's watching. And it makes me feel like, why am I not showing up as my best, true, authentic self? And why am I bringing my vibe down? Why am I doing that? Because why? Because I need to chill out. Like I can't just have a nice conversation with my mother or my father or my relatives. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's where it's just
100%.
like,
Yeah.
and sometimes what I'll do is that we have people in our lives. I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure you can relate. Like where you're like, we got to go here. Okay, breathe. It's gonna be fine. I'm really not excited about it because your vibe creates your tribe, and then your family's your family. It's blood, so you're like whatever. So then you do things to kind of suppress a little bit or whatever. And I'm like, no, dude, like I need to show up as my best self because if I show up with a high vibe and I'm freaking bubbly and feeling good and everything else, like when you come from love, then they feel it, and the next thing you know, it's crazy. Their vibe
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
I remember my daughter Allison. She was dating an amazing kid that they ended up splitting up, but we got close to him and his family, and we went to Disneyland. And his father, I think he had cancer at one point, and his health
Mm.
isn't the best right now. And we were at Disneyland. He's like, "Hey, Steve, you want a beer? You want to get a beer?" And I was like, "And I could have a beer," but I
Yeah.
just thought like I didn't feel like I needed one because I was
Yeah.
having a good time. I was
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm good." And he's like, yeah, I'm cool. I don't want a beer either.
See?
I impacted this guy's life because he would see me at the gym and he'd come and he did not know what to do. And would tell me, man, I want to be more like you. You inspire me. I'm like,
Aw.
and he's trying to find his way. And it's so cool to see that, I could kind of inspire him in a sense. But you don't need all these things to have a
No.
good time, man.
No.
Just enjoy, try. And I'm not perfect at all, but try your best to be in the now. Like we're in the now right now. I'm
Yes.
not
Yeah.
thinking about what we're gonna
Well,
do
like when
tomorrow
you
or what
drink,
we
you
did
can't
yesterday.
remember like what you
No.
It's not the
did,
same,
and then the
yeah.
next day is a waste because you're just in bed all day.
You
Our
feel
life's
like
too
shit.
precious now. Our life's too precious.
Way too
Like
precious,
we
bro.
spend
would
that time doing that.
rather go to bed at 9, 10, wake up at 6, and go to the gym.
Yeah.
I,
Me
Get the
too.
day started.
Let's
know,
go.
like when people go, "Oh, let's go out at 8 o'clock," I'm like, "Wait, what? You want to go out?" I'm
which
in
is which is
bed.
fun too. It's cool
Once
because
in a
when we
while.
do, it's like this is kind of cool. Like there's a whole life out there, but we get in our routine. And our routine is we're trying to build this business,
Yes.
and so we work better off of a routine, and that's
Yes.
getting to bed at a decent time so we can wake up at a decent time and just keep evolving
Amen,
what we're
dude.
doing.
Let's
You
freaking
know what I
go.
mean?
Well,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why, like, when he
Go.
was like, "Oh, we got to go to Norm's and be there by 6:30," and you're like, "Oh, you could sleep in tomorrow," I'm like, "Oh no, we're good. I woke up at 4:30 today."
Nice. And
Yeah.
then you had a couple hours before you got here and
Yep.
everything else. And so I want to, in this segment, I want to give some enlightenment for our viewers and listeners to just conceptualize this really quick, right? So if you're a part of like, in this, you can read it in the Spirit Hacking book. If you're a part of the Matrix and you're doing the things that you're doing, and you're not in alignment, right? And then you're like stressed out because the commuting, or you're stressed out because of the fucking bills, or you're stressed out because you over leveraged and got your credit card debt too high, then what do? You get off of work. You can't wait to smoke that blunt or drink that alcohol to forget it for a little bit. And then next thing you know, you wake up the next day, you're like, oh my God, I still have this coming up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to back in traffic, right? So then
Mm-hmm.
what happens is they say that the mental thoughts then create issues. The issues are in the tissues, and then basically dis-ease in the body because the thoughts can be held in the stomach, it could be held in the brain, migraines, stomach aches, and then those issues in the tissues turn into dis-ease that turns into disease.
Yep.
And people don't understand that.
Mhm.
And so then for me, I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, so I'll smoke a little weed or whatever else, hang out with the family and everything else. Like, I'm totally fine. This isn't an issue. And I'm trying to justify it with myself. But the problem is if I'm here to be a vessel to shine light to help people have more liftoff, it doesn't matter if it's family or not. I'm not fucking showing up. And then what am I doing? I'm not being my true, authentic, true self. And so that's where I was like, oh, that's the bigger meaning behind why I'm doing it. And it's not about me. It's about the way I'm showing up for him or for her or for my family or for whatever else. And so that's where I feel like people are finally starting to wake up and
Yeah.
saying, I'm done with these thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm done with this pattern. I'm done with fucking, having a stroke or fucking bleeding out because I planned this baby.
Yeah.
And now what the hell?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Life has a funny way of just teaching you things.
Smacking you in the
It's
face.
crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But you know what?
Wake up.
we have no other choice. And I'm so glad we were born in this time than any other time because we have so
Dude,
much opportunity, so much
100%.
opportunity. And we're trying our best to figure it out, just like everybody else out there, and just
Yeah.
create the best life we can, knowing that it's challenging. Every day's challenging.
You know what I like that you said
Mm.
is,
Just a
you
few
know,
things.
well, yeah, well, obviously there's a lot, but like you showing up and being your authentic self and not really caring about what anybody thinks of you
Yes.
because you're coming from a place of service. And so this is huge, especially like in our industry or any
Mm-hmm.
industry at all, where, you have to show up and be yourself and be loud and proud about what you're doing. Not so much because I want the attention on me, not at all. It's
Mm-mm.
like how many people can hear what I have to say and change their lives.
Mm.
And so when you have realtors who don't want to get on video, it's like don't worry about it. They're not looking at you because of your hair. I mean, maybe some are, but um, they're looking at you for the message that you're giving.
Yes.
Come from a place of value, place of service, helping people, changing lives. And that's going to give you more confidence to be on that camera, to be your authentic self, to be as loud as you want to be. And that's something that I had to learn because when I first got in video in 2018, I was so caught up in like trying to do videos and then thinking like what are people going to think? Like do they think I'm
Mm-hmm.
shallow cuz I'm posting videos of myself cuz I never even used to post selfies. I
Wow.
hated posting selfies. And so it would take me like an hour to do like a 30-second video because I'm like, "Oh, I sound funny." And then I wouldn't post it because I was like, "Well, what if people think something or like what if so and so thinks, I'm posting too much of myself?" And then eventually, as I started practicing because of the coaching
Mm-hmm.
program that I was in, and then people would start commenting, like, oh my gosh, I wish someone told me that when I was buying my first home.
Mm.
And then I was like, oh, okay. And then it just kept going with the comments, like, oh, this is great information. Thank you so much. So then you take it away from yourself
Yes.
and focus on who you could serve. And that's what I
Oof.
got from like you and what you're saying,
Oof.
right? Like you don't care how, loud things could be on our social or your
No.
social or how you dress and hella extra. You're
Yeah.
hella extra
Let's
to
do
reach
more.
out to all these people so that they could see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to be honest. I want to say, and who knows, maybe you'll meet her. So she'll be in Sacramento. So Vince is the reason why we got connected years back. And because she was looking for, the Vibe Creature Tribe, looking for people that potentially could be a good candidate for the show where we'll connect and whatever. And she obviously did a damn good job because three
Oh,
three
she was the
years
one that reached
she was
out
the
to
one that
us.
reached out
Oh,
originally.
I'll
So
have
three
to meet
years
her.
later, here we are. She'll be in Sac.
Yeah.
So and she'll actually be here on the 21st of June, which is actually her birthday on a Saturday. She thought it was Father's Day, but it's different in the
Yeah.
Philippines and here.
Yeah.
So I said, "No, girlfriend, we're going all out. We're extra. Let's do
Oh
this.
my gosh.
We're making
Hella
it.
extra.
We're making hella
When they
extra."
go to Sacramento, have them reach out to us.
I will, because that'd be awesome. So it's Vitz and Sean. Her aunt lives there, and so I call her the CEO of the Philippines. She's amazing. And so it's interesting when you read the spirit hacking book based off what you said, that he said that the Matrix is Hollywood, it is TV, nothing against it. It is sports, it's entertainment. And so everything has been conditioned from generations for us to see and think and feel a certain way. And the reason why the production level is so high in Hollywood is because they want us to make us feel that we aren't good enough to get to that level. And social media has helped us be able to
Yep.
evolve to say we are good enough to fly that drone.
Yep.
We are good enough to go from being a welder, union fucking welder, to editing my own videos and now serving my community. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then people like to say, "Oh, what's your credentials? What degree do you have?" Well, fuck you and your degree. I got 11 years of fucking hustle, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want my resume, dude? Like, let's have a meeting. I'll talk to you and tell you exactly how it rolls. You know?
Well, a lot of companies are hiring not even based on degrees anymore, I heard.
I rather hire with the heart.
Yep.
Yep.
Vitz knew nothing. So this is gonna be a little shout out to Vitz. She knew nothing, and she actually at a certain point she was making, I want to say, 300 to 600 Filipino pesos to basically do something. I think a caregiver, and her family said she needed to be a nurse. And so she said, "Hey, I don't have right nurse
Yeah.
Philippines. That's pretty
Yeah,
normal."
yeah.
And she's like, "I don't have anything to offer you." And the reason why I connected with her is I got a phone call from someone who is just like, "Are you looking for marketing services?" Yada yada yada. It was a Filipina, and she was like amazing in English. And I'm like, "You want a job?" You know what I'm saying? I was like,
I
in
love
this
that.
pool 5 years ago,
Really?
first moved here. I was like, "You want a job?" She's like,
Yeah.
"I don't, but I have a friend."
Oh, nice.
That was Iveta Vitz. And so basically, we had a conversation. So when I first moved here 5 years ago, she's like, "I don't have anything to offer but my passion and my will, and I'll do whatever it takes." And then when we talked about in the hot tub, like I said, "Okay, this is what you need to do." And then she was all over the place. So I said, "Okay, slow down. Here's going to be your daily checklist." So I have like a social media daily. So it's like like how many stories you're watching, how many stories you're liking, how many posts you're going to be going and liking or commenting, and taught her to go deeper with the post because that's a nugget because people don't take time to do like a meaningful comment off a post. It's just like fucking emojis all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught her all this stuff, and then she went from that to now she's making over $2,000 a month US, which is over 111,000 on an annual basis. Okay, so Team PH, you're gonna get there, okay? Because we
Yeah.
have Rain editing this, and not everyone's at that level. But hey, I hope this gives you some motivation, some awareness. And so she bought her own car. She remodeled. She's remodeling parents' house. She doesn't work 4 or 5 jobs. She works only one job, and so now she is the model for the organization, and that's been the lifeblood of the organization because then she helps with the HR and hiring, and it shows the rest of the team that this isn't like we're not VAs here.
Yeah.
Like we're coming out, we're taking over a whole resort. Like your family, we got money motivation. Like we want you personally, professionally, and spiritually to grow with us. It's a total vibe here.
Yeah.
And then it's just snowballed from there, and she's been amazing. And it's just like I didn't foresee it; it just happened organically.
Yeah.
And now I want to hire 100. My goal is to hire 100 Filipinos.
Aren't they the best?
They are amazing.
I love my Filipino culture. I
I
really do. I
dude,
love my Filipino people.
I
I
went
feel
out
more Filipino than any my actual
I
nationality.
went out there and I actually felt like that was home and I didn't want to come back to
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was crazy for me. I was like, what? And then freaking, and Cha, she's gonna be out there in Sac. She's like, oh, she like drove me through like the richer area with the compounds and
You're
like the
like
gates.
looking for a house.
She's like, you could potentially move here and this and that. I was like, oh my God. And then we went to,
I've been manifesting a home outside of the country,
yeah.
so you never know.
Yeah, I told them I want to do like a warehouse for them out there,
Oh
so
my
that way they
gosh,
could
yeah.
drive in the warehouse. It's air conditioned, and it could potentially also be community facing as well, and do something super different for them. I thought that'd be super cool. So we'll see, and it's not easy. You know, I had a tough conversation
Right.
this last week with one of the guys, and they're not proactive, and they're the kindest, most serving to
Sure.
others. And I had to remind one of the guys this week. I said, "Bro, you cannot pour from an empty cup." I
Mm.
said, "You need to make sure that 10 o'clock on, you're not lethargic and can't edit because you're giving they call it the marriage suite
Mm.
to your family, which is the only room in the whole house, which is AC.
Mm,
Like, if you can focus, we can get you the money that you need really quick. So you could have an entire house with AC. Like that's the
yeah.
type of things I go through with them to get them to really be like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And we plant those seeds and then they sprout and it's happened over and over and over again, which has just been beautiful.
Good
That's
for you.
awesome.
Good for you.
Thanks,
And
man.
we're trying to find that too. I'm pretty good at motivating them in a sense. Like it's not us.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
all a team. It's not me and Rose. You're part of this team. We could not do this without you.
Amen.
You know, I really, really, really try to inspire them and just look them in their eyes and let them know we cannot be who we are
Yeah.
without you. You're a very important part of this team. And then finding those right people to still show up,
Yeah.
you know, and they are out there because, I mean, Rose, she's Filipino. She's one of the hardest workers I know. We've had a few VAs that are just, it seems like every single one is just amazing. But sometimes it's hard to find that right person to really believe it and take it to that next level. And it sounds like you found a few people and they're
Oh my
creating
God.
a whole life for them out there.
Yeah.
You know, so hats off to you for creating that
Thank you.
opportunity for them, for
Yeah.
those people.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
It's finding the right people and to be on the boat. We did our trip just last October, and we had to let go like four of the individuals, unfortunately.
Part of it.
But it's part of it is the example, so they can understand like where we're going and what's happening and what's going to happen with all
They
this.
have to believe in the company culture,
Yeah.
the values. right? And if you start letting people in that don't share those values, things can change. So you have to protect that.
Quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My wife heard me kind of, getting a little loud, hot and heavy, and and she's like, "Man, you were like yelling at the guy," and I'm like, it was passion coming out of me.
Yeah.
When you spend 11 years and you start from like, I don't know who I'm gonna serve. I got a roommate. I don't know if I can be able to pay my rent. I'm on food stamps. I'm banging my head against the wall, and then I find this J. Rockcliffe Realtors, and then I get to a point where like I'm at now. I'm like, you'd be damned if I go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Hell fucking no. And that's one thing my brother, God bless him, Casey Franklin, and I hope you do well, brother, and keep moving forward. And he's been struggling. And he came finally after like, I think 3, almost 4 years living here. And he said, the one thing that stuck with me to this day, he's all, the one thing about you've never gone backwards.
Mm.
You keep moving forward. And I'm like, thanks, bro. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Because it's just,
And going back to our earlier segment of even this could be to you too, Norman.
yeah.
Life, just be prepared because you could do everything right
Mm-hmm.
and something could be taken away from you so quickly.
Yeah.
And just know that it's going to happen to all of us.
Amen.
And I love that you are creating this and doing what you're doing. And we don't ever want to go backwards, but to the people out there,
Yeah.
it's okay if you do go backwards sometimes. Just don't give up
And learn from it.
and learn from it, right? Because
Yeah.
man, there was just no reason why those things should have happened to us, and it did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because we were bad people, but we just didn't give up.
Amen.
And you're just keep evolving all the time, and I wish nothing but just keep climbing those ladder, just keep climbing those steps and keep growing, man. It's really
Amen.
cool to
And I
see.
will say, I will put a cliff note on that. I have gone backwards in a sense from like, we learned with the fix and flip, and we
Oh,
made
yeah.
some mistakes with that. Or you learn from different things that you do that maybe weren't the best decisions. The bigger picture, it's like you're always moving forward. Because at the end of the day, even if you're moving backwards financially,
It's a graph, man.
yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
graph. It's going to go up and down,
yeah,
peaks and valleys and everything, but you pull that graph out, you're
yeah.
always
Well,
continuing to
I
go
was
up.
listening to, so there's an app called Mind Valley with
Oh.
Vishen Likyani. They have a whole bunch of different like training programs on
Mhm.
spirituality,
Mhm.
mindfulness, everything. And I was listening to this one, and she was saying that, like, let's say you take two guys who had the same exact position,
Mm.
they were both laid off. One guy chooses to, drink and just do a pity party, become homeless. And then the other guy chooses to learn from that mistake, keep going, make the calls he needed to make, sharpen the skills, and then get a better job. It's all based on the reaction and the decisions and the learning that you take from that specific obstacle, right? It's a choice. You get to choose which route you want to go.
Mm.
Not to say that everybody who was homeless, had that choice,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when bad things happen to you, you have a choice of how you react to it.
Mm.
You could take it the wrong way, or you can learn from it and then figure out how you can get better or do something else, like with the flips, right? If you fail at something, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm not going to do that again.
Mm-mm.
You're going to be like, okay, what did we do that we messed up on that we could do better next time?
Amen.
And
So,
that's just perspective right there, right?
exactly, yeah.
You're not thinking, no, I didn't fail. I learned from it.
Yeah.
It got me better.
Yeah.
I had to go through that in order to. So earlier I was thinking, I remember Tony Robbins. I'm sure you know
Yeah.
who Tony Robbins
Mhm.
is. I was listening to him once and he said, hey, I want you to figure out the worst time of your life and try to flip the perspective on that. How come that worst day of your life was the best day of your life?
Mm.
It just teaches you and forces you and just to try to shift your perspective. Oh, I got fired from a job. Oh, but also, if I didn't get fired from that job, I wouldn't have got the next opportunity. Oh, my girlfriend left me, but if she didn't leave me, I would have never met my future wife. Like, what
Yeah,
happened?
like when I got jumped.
You got jumped and she met me, right? They'd never, Norman, that, if she did not, that was her, probably one of the worst days of her life because it wasn't just a little,
Oh, it was like an hour.
they followed her for a long time and kept hitting her. It was a
Wow.
torturous day. But because of that, her mom switched school districts. And if that never happened, I would have never met her. She would have never met me. Jasmine wouldn't be born. Allison, Anthony, Elijah, Mason, Miles, none of us would have, those kids wouldn't be born, and we would be different people.
Amen.
She had to go through that hard day for us to meet.
That's
Really,
what
and
we talked about that this morning at the gym.
I would not have worked out with you today if she didn't get jumped. I would not know you. Trip, right?
And just like
Connect
you,
the dots.
just like you out there staying now with us for over 2 hours
gosh.
No
long.
way.
If you did not stay until the end, you wouldn't have learned that golden nugget that you needed, and everything in your life happened to the point to where we're at today.
Connect the dots, man.
Yeah.
It's all for a reason.